threw up in the paper tray and crapped in the refrigerator after his Monday morning debauchery. He's never drinking again, or so he says. He is Glenn Clark.
All right, we're going to put the finishing touches on what happened yesterday because I don't much want to talk about it. I thank you for those of you that donated. That's the important part. We raised over $500 for the Perry Hall basketball program. Do something nice for those kids that have been through so much over the last year or two due to the COVID pandemic. So that's part of I'm excited about. Thank you all for donating. I also can't believe we actually got through this. We nailed it. We did well. Nailed it. Right, turned it. We got through it. That's the moral of the story. I was informed that I screamed a lot. I don't remember that, but that sounds about right for me. I don't remember much after about the first. I remember the show happening. I remember getting mushy at one point, talking about how much I love Jeremy, because he is genuinely a friend of mine, and I do genuinely love the man. So and that's very much a me thing when I'm drunk. Hal, you've been to the pig roast a few times. Have you ever been to the Hal Andrews is here this morning? Have you ever got to the part of the night where I started getting mushy because I was drunk? Yeah. Well, but I would do that sober. Yeah, I would do that sober. Yeah. Well, I mean, by the way, I think in terms of being drunk, far better to be the emotional mushy drunk than the other type. I feel like that's a better thing to be in those moments, is to be the guy that just tells you how much he loves you.
5,000% agree with that. I would much rather you be like that instead of the guy that tries to fight me and throw me over the bar stool.
Right, correct.
So, yeah.
And I hope that I'm never that person. I hope that continues to be the case. So yeah, apparently that happened at one point yesterday. I got a little emotionally mushy drunk, and then, this is a true story, I puked for the first time after the show. Then I went to that couch. I passed out. I gave Leah, who runs our office, I gave her my keys. I said, hey, hold on to these until the point at which I wake up. And then she had to come. She had 5 o'clock. She came and woke me up, and she said, I'm leaving. I'm going to have to give you your keys back because it's time for me to go. I said, what time is it? She said, it's 5 o'clock. I said, how long have I been passed out? She said, about 3.5 hours. I said, my. So I think that's where drunk ran into sleep deprived. I think those two ran into each other during the course of the day yesterday. And then I proceeded to go back to the bathroom and puke some more. Then, got myself together, realized I was okay to go home. Realized I was all right. I'd slept it off. Got home, and then puked some more. So, just an all-around great day for your boy, and I swear, I'm not. The point yesterday for this exercise was that we were going to get drunk to do this table read. We can do more drinking shows. I'm not getting drunk. I don't care for it. I don't drink at all. At all anymore. I drink the day of the pig roast and yesterday. And that's the list of times I've drank at all this year. I will do that again next year. I'll drink the day of the pig roast, and I will drink for a drinking show, but I ain't getting drunk again. I hate being drunk. I absolutely hate being drunk. So that won't happen again. But I hope you all enjoyed? I believe it's the phrase. Enjoyed yesterday's program, and more than anything, thank you all for all of your donations. It's incredible.
Glenn Clark got emotional and yelled, "Color me shocked."
Yeah, I mean, no, but the two are unrelated.
I know.
No, I yell performatively.
Mm-hmm.
When we're doing when somebody screwed up, I was screaming. I was like, botch! I did that bit, right?
Right.
And although I lost the botch game by far. Apparently, Jeremy tried to stop me from consuming all of the King Cup. I just was at a point of inebriation.
He said, screw it.
Because we had apparently agreed ahead of time that we just had to try the King Cup. We didn't have to drink the entire thing. And I consumed the entire King Cup, which is really the downfall of the day.
What all was in there?
Oh, he had put everything. He had brought this. You guys, thank you for watching, by the way. Appreciate the support, boys.
I had family stuff going on.
Yeah, okay. All right, you think that gets you out of things?
Stepbrother, I hadn't seen.
You didn't have
with his kids
all day. It's not because the show's only. Of course, we don't post it anywhere after it's live. There's no way that you could have gone back and watched it afterwards. That's a great point that you made.
I will watch today.
There was the Poblana. I don't remember. It was a bunch of stuff. It was a day. We had a day, but I'm all right. I'm all right. Lots of ibuprofen when I got home. Lots of water. I couldn't eat dinner because at that point it was going to come back up. And that was very awkward because we sat down as a family and the boys were like, Dad, why are you not eating? And I was like, well. And so we taught them about alcohol last night. We talked to them about poison. We had that conversation with my 6 and 4-year-old. And then I proceeded to go back to the bathroom for one more visit, one more trip to the toilet to end the evening. It was quite the day. So, but thank you. We will not be doing that again. Coming up on the program today, as I mentioned, Kyle is here. We're going to talk to him. Also later on in the program, our weekly visit with Patrick Stevens, of course, talk some Terps college hoops. Maryland is actually supposed to play tonight. They had to switch opponents, which is a bummer for all my friends at Loyola. They're not able to get that game. So instead it'll be Lehigh who comes to College Park tonight. And there are some other games that are scheduled to happen, but it just doesn't look good. It does not look good whatsoever. We'll talk to Patrick about all that. And later on in the show, we think that Dan Wilcox is going to catch up with us, talk some Ravens as well. So that's coming up on the program today. Today's show is brought to you by your Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants. You want to hold that up? You want to show everybody? Yeah. Thank you to our friends at Chick-fil-A. As I went over there, when I tell you this is like the old hair club for men. I'm not just the president. I'm also a client, right? Like I am very much someone who uses Chick-fil-A catering. Try Chick-fil-A catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese. Enjoy a variety of tray options. Sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. I've said before, like my favorite thing, we used to, I don't know if you guys are still doing your New Year's plans or not. And maybe the fact that you're going to be forced to stay at home is a better scenario for this. I will forever give my cousin Justin credit. 1 year for New Year's, he said, I'm going to do chicken and waffles. I said, man, we got a big get together. That's quite, what are you, a chef now? Like, what the hell, dude? But what he really did was he got Chick-fil-A nuggets and mini, like, Eggo waffles. And I got to be honest with you, it was a 10.5. It was a 10. It was a hit at New Year's that year. So I would encourage you that if you're going that route with your New Year's celebration this year. Kyle Andrews, it's great to see you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Good to have you back in studio. For those people that don't know, Kyle, years ago, what year were you an intern here at Press
So I was an intern in 2015.
Is it really that long ago?
Yeah, I know, right? I was wet behind the ears, still have no facial hair, barely. But, just I was young. I was like 20. I think I was 21. Yeah, I was 21 back then.
Wow. So you interned here. And then you were working at a radio station that was based in Virginia, but, like, you were working up here.
Yeah, so pretty much what I was doing was that I was working remotely, and
I
covered the Orioles for them. And Joe Serpico and I, another friend of ours, we both went from, we were working with Fansided, then we went to the radio station in Virginia. Then I ended up at 105.7 after a while.
You were covering the Ravens there.
Yeah, that was fun. And then I went to the Sun for 2 years practically and covered high school. Now I'm covering high school still and covering Penn State football. So that's been going well.
And what's the name of the publication? I don't even
Daily Times.
Center Daily Times.
Yes.
And that's based out of State College?
Yep, out of State College.
Okay. So you've had quite the journey.
Oh, yeah.
And I use you as an example. Every time we get to the end of a semester, you probably remember this from when you were an intern. I like to take all the interns to Blue Pit down the street. Unfortunately, that hasn't been an option the last couple of semesters for various reasons. So we've been doing these via Zoom. And every time we have a conversation, I bring up your name. I say, the most important thing that you can learn from an internship is to make connections. It's the most important thing you can do in this business. This is a networking industry. It's a networking and transcribing industry, frankly. If you want to work in this industry, you've got to be networking and you've got to be transcribing. Those are the two things that you're going to be doing constantly, and I say that all the time. And I regularly bring your name up because I give an example of someone that networked beyond networked. And you did it in such an authentic way it's not like I bet when I say that you were networking, you might say, I wasn't networking, but you were just creating relationships.
Yeah.
That's what you do, and you created relationships with everyone, everywhere you went. And I'm guessing part of that is just sort of who you are and the way that it works. But this is what I've always said about Kyle. Kyle, you know who you're, my friend AJ Francis. You can't be in Kyle's life and not have a relationship. That's the way that you operate. Like, you just create relationships with everybody you know, everybody you come across. It's a really remarkable thing. And how significant have you found that to be as you've pursued this career that you've been working in?
Oh yeah, I feel like it's big. I just think a lot of that has to do with how I was raised. My mom is very great at networking, so that's something I learned as a kid to be like. I always aspired to kind of be like my mom in that respect, but also I'm just really extroverted. I mean, everybody always knows that I love talking.
Which is a good quality to have in this industry, by the way. It's very difficult when it goes the other way.
Oh yeah, and I think that's I talked to I forgot who it was. I think one time it was a conversation I was having with I can't exactly remember who it was, but it was somebody. Yeah, it was Terrell Suggs.
Okay.
And Terrell Suggs was like, "Geez, you talk so much." And I'm like, you said that about me.
Yeah, of all the guys,
then,
of all the human beings to say that.
But yeah, like when that happened, I was
imagine
just
Terrell Suggs saying that.
I was just like, man,
I don't know a human being that talks more than Terrell Suggs. My God.
That's why it cracked me up so much, because I was just like, man, if he's saying that about me, maybe I need to talk less. And other people are like, no, you're good, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah, because I think he was just busting my chops.
Yeah, he was good at that, yes.
But it was just learning to kind of connect a bunch of different people. Like you go, for instance, too. I mean, I had to grow up around a bunch of different people. Like I went to Winfield Elementary School in Randallstown. Then I went over to Pikesville Middle School, and so Pikesville is
a little bit different. A little bit of the community is slightly different in that
Mount
way,
St. Joe,
right?
which is totally different.
I was to understand from some of my friends in Pikesville that the Chinese restaurants were overflowing on Christmas Day in Pikesville.
Absolutely. And it's funny because then I go from St. Joe to going to McDaniel, and that's totally different too.
Sure.
I mean, I've been in so many different situations my whole life that I've had to kind of adapt to, what other people are doing, or other people have had to adapt to me. So I've like kind of learned more from people, and some people have picked some things up from me, but I feel like over time I've learned so much from, all the different people that I've met. So yeah, that's the main reason why I like, doing what I do, and I make good friends. I mean, you guys are definitely a perfect example of that, and I appreciate that, and that's why we're still
100%
to this day.
Kyle, for those of you that don't know Kyle got cancer, right? First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I do not have it anymore.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Glad.
So Kyle calls me to tell me about his cancer, and the first thing he says to me is, "Bro, don't worry, I'm going to be at the pig row." I said, "Kyle, I got to be honest with you. In this conversation, the least of my concerns. The least of my concerns." And I love that story. It's one of my favorite stories to tell about you, is the quality of human being that you are. Best advice, because we're going to talk sports, but best advice that you have for somebody that has been dying to get into this industry and more to do it as their like a lot of people have found a way to like do a podcast or do a blog or something like that, but haven't been able to make it their living, right? Like best advice that you would give to someone, or someone whose kid is maybe sitting at home right now, home from college, or trying to make a decision about what they want to do after high school. Best advice you could give to them about pursuing this dream.
Reach out to other young journalists that have done it differently. I think too many times that what I see a lot of times is that you'll see younger journalists that maybe didn't go to a J school. Like for instance, I didn't go to a J school, but I reached out to a bunch of people.
But oddly, he did go to a Jewish school. It's really weird how that works. Like very strange when he says he didn't go to J school. He just told us he went to Pikesville Middle. It's very strange.
But yeah, like I mean, I knew so many people that didn't necessarily follow the same route as, I guess the traditional route. Or I met people that did follow the traditional route. It was just that people taught me different things over the time that I was in, that I was learning. I mean, I went to McDaniel, then I transferred to University of Baltimore. So, I mean, I go to UB, and I had never been a journalism major. I was an English major the whole time. I had no experience in radio, and I just kept building connections. And I think that's the best thing that you can do is, build connections, get to learn from different people, be open to things. You're not always going to do exactly what you want to do. I can tell people that, when you break into the field, you can't expect to be an NFL reporter right off the bat, for most people anyway. Now, if you have some people that are a little bit more talented than I am.
Nah, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw sometimes. You just happen to be the person that was in a role when somebody else left, right? It's like any other business. Journalism is frustrating, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you and I have talked about that a great deal over the years. It's a very frustrating industry. But sometimes it's another piece of advice I always give our interns. Like, don't look at someone else and allow that to become a jealousy thing or to make you you're going to see somebody else in a role and say, I know I'm more talented than them. I know I'm – it's not always a reflection of you. Literally, sometimes it's just this person was in this position and somebody else left the job they were in, and you were just the person that was sitting there, and they were like, hey, somebody's got to go cover the game on Sunday. You go do it. And then they just left the person in that role because they were the person that was there. And that happens in industry, right? In industry, people get opportunities sometimes because they're just the person that's sitting there. Ryan Shell, who is still working in radio to this day, was my producer once upon a time. Literally just happened. It happened to be that the semester that he was interning at the radio station, with no real clue as to what he wanted to do for a living, it just so happened to be that was when we when one of the main producer left the radio station. And so he was the guy that was sitting there, and they were like, somebody's got to produce these shows tomorrow. All right, kid, congratulations, you're doing it. And, a decade later, he's working in Charlotte, and I think he's doing, political talk now, which is a very bizarre scenario. But
he's also another McDaniel guy, too.
He is. That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Or was he there when
guy.
it was – well, he wasn't there when it was Western.
I don't think so. I think it was
right
McDaniel.
after,
Yeah, I think it was McDaniel then. But these are the things. Sometimes it's just you happen to be the person that was sitting in the building at that point. It's not always a reflection of talent, and it's Look, I wish the world was a meritocracy. I wish that was the case. I'm not sure if that would treat me all that well personally. I'm pretty sure I might be in the exact same position that I'm in. But it's not, unfortunately. Nothing about this industry is always a meritocracy. So it's something that I constantly talk about with young people.
I will tell you that Kyle is one of the main reasons that I'm here now.
Oh, yeah?
He and I did a podcast with Vasilius, who was my original he was my original co-host on the Bat Around briefly when we first started after I took over for Stan. And before that, they had a podcast they were doing. They invited me on to talk a little bit about the Orioles. And afterwards, they were giving me advice, and Kyle said, you need to network. And he told me Glenn Clark is a great guy to reach out to. And I reached out to Glenn, and Glenn brought me in. They interviewed me, and they offered me a producer role in the Bat Around, and things just took off for there. So
you were the guy. When we had an opportunity come up, you were the guy that was – now, I'm not trying to say you didn't get it by merit, by the way. I'm not trying to say that. But that's the way it worked. It was natural for that to be the case.
Yeah, and some guys, too. I mean, look at Vasilios now. He was at WBAL. Now he's down at Fox 8 in New Orleans as as one of the main sports producers down there.
Kind of the Chris DeShiel of New Orleans. By the way, what a great place. I saw you were down there. God, I'm so jealous.
The food, oh my God.
It's the greatest city in the country. Oh, I love that place so much, bro. Where all did you go when you were down there?
So we went to Bourbon Street, of course. You have to go to Bourbon Street. So we also went.
Did you get a little Drago's Oysters?
I did not.
Oh, Kyle.
I'm going back down sooner rather than later.
When you going?
So.
I'm telling you, it's my.
Well, I gotta catch up with Alex Woodward while I'm down there too, because he lives in
Is
Mississippi.
He in New Orleans? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he may make that move to New Orleans eventually. I hope he does. But
it is the best city.
Yeah,
the best city
in
America.
Too far away, though.
I love that place so bad, man.
The food is just.
The nice thing about it is you eat so much food, but you walk the entire time, right? You're just walking constantly.
I walked about 20,000 steps the first day that I was there. And I barely went outside of the house. All we did was just go to Bourbon Street, walk back and forth down Bourbon Street multiple times. People were doing a lot of extracurricular activities.
Of course they were. That's what they do. Yes, you're in New Orleans.
Yeah, it was a good time, but people, it was funny. At one point we got pelted in the head with beads.
All right.
So
What
that
were you
No,
flashing it? Were you showing your?
absolutely
All
no.
right.
Yeah, absolutely not. But somebody like threw beads. They were trying to throw them down to somebody else, and then they hit me in the head at one point.
But you're a very large man,
yeah,
for
it's
what it's
hard-
worth,
it's
Kyle.
hard not to
Like,
hit
it'd
me
be
in
very
the head.
difficult
I
to
mean,
miss you.
I am 6'7". I only mention it 500 times a day on Twitter, but
I don't know how you fly, for what it's worth. It was,
Yeah, my legs.
former
mess.
Kyle would joke about flying, right? Like, and how if Kyle Ottenheimer, who of course perished, it's very sad. Although it was nice to hear from him when Antoine Wesley scored a touchdown. He and I had quite the reunion on Saturday night when Antoine Wesley scored a touchdown because Kyle Ottenheimer was famous for making these proclamations that were just absurd for no reason. He would just make these proclamations like he would say the year the Browns went winless. He's like, they're gonna win 6 games next year, and I was like, wait, what? You're just saying that. Like, why do you say? I think they won 2. Or I don't even remember what it was. Maybe it was the year
I think they
did.
won 1.
Was it 1?
I think they won
When
one
it was,
game.
Like it was just he would just do these things. And by the way, he was very much right about Patrick Mahomes. Like the year Patrick Mahomes was in the draft, he was like, that kid's gonna be the greatest quarterback of all time. And I'm like, dude, settle down. Like, let him play. I mean, he might have gotten that one right. Like, that one might have been true. But he had all these other, and for whatever reason, he came in one day raving about how Antoine Wesley was going to solve the Ravens' wide receiver problems. And it was because, like, I want to say Steve Smith said something nice about him in a media. He's like, dude, did you hear what Steve Smith was saying about Antoine Wesley? I'm like, bro, what? What do you think Steve Smith is going to say when he's asked about one of the other wide? That guy sucks. Like, what do you think he's going to say? He's like, no, dude, it was the way he said it. You don't understand. This guy's going to be good. Like, all right, bro. Antoine Wesley. And I had forgotten about it until Kyle's last day when someone started messaging us. Or I brought him. I was like, dude, who was the receiver? People started messaging us like, you were in love with Antoine Wesley. So, of course, he caught a touchdown for the Cardinals on Saturday night. And we literally, at the exact same time, messaged each other, Antoine Wesley, Merry Christmas. I texted him. He tweeted me. It was the exact same time. It was a very cute moment. But Kyle would talk about, because Kyle was a big guy, he would talk about how unpleasant it was to fly. I can only fathom.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Because Kyle was like maybe about 2 or 3 inches shorter than me.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but
yeah, I don't
we're
think
acting-
you're
we're
right.
acting like
Well, no, he perished.
Yeah,
he perished. He's gone.
well,
That's the way it
we're
works.
acting like
He's-
he got obliterated. Like
no,
it was,
no, unfortunately, that's the way it
like
works.
a Dragon Ball Z character.
It was,
when they,
yes.
You know,
Oh,
like-
no, it was a snap situation. He got Thanos snapped, and he was gone. And that was the way that it went.
But yeah, like I mean, yeah, it's terrible. It's awful, and even funnier was that you guys will laugh at me if I tell you what airline I flew.
If
back.
you say the word Spirit, no, you didn't. No.
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 You know what's bad too? My friends work for Southwest Airlines,
Well, dude,
and I didn't take Southwest. They told me, they were like, okay, Kyle, you've flown Southwest every time you've flown.
why in the
Why
F
did
would
you take Spirit? And
Well, I
I'm
get
like,
it. It's cheap. I do
Yeah.
understand that, but still,
that was why.
it's cheap, but it's also soul crushing.
Yeah, it was,
like
it was
you
soul
want.
crushing.
it-
And the
You
flight
felt
just
how
started,
I
like-
felt when I woke up on the couch at 5:00 yesterday.
Yes, and I didn't even have a sip of alcohol while
Yeah,
I was on the flight,
correct.
which is, I mean, because one
God.
probably costs like $50 to get a sip of anything on that flight because everything costs extra money.
There's something to
want
be
some
said.
water.
You're not as old as I am. Paul is basically as old as I am. There is something about reaching the age where you don't just have to do things, like where you really will make a decision. That either you're going to do it a certain way or you're not going to do it. Like if you can't afford to do this, you're just not doing it. I will never again in my life do something like flying Spirit Airlines. That
Oh,
will
yeah.
never.
That's
If
not
I
happening.
can't afford a real flight, I will just simply not go. I will not be attending whatever it is the event that we're
See,
talking
I
about.
could have afforded a real flight. I was just being cheap, which is, I mean,
Okay, that's even worse, bro.
Yeah,
Like that
that-
is
I
even
mean,
worse.
look.
God.
part of it was that
Here's another one. I will not sit in the upper deck for a stadium concert.
okay, that's
Like,
fair.
if-
I won't do that
understand.
If
Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think of bands that I've seen in stadium. I saw U2 when they came to M&T Bank Stadium. I saw Billy Joel when they came to M&T Bank Stadium. And like both those shows, I was down for. I tried maybe, I don't know, years upon years ago. I would never do that again. I would never sit. I don't really know that I would do it for an arena show any longer. I don't. You'd have to tell me what it is for me to be convinced that I might. But I would not. Now I feel differently about sports. to some extent. Like, I'll still sit in the upper deck for a baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably still sit in the upper deck for a football game, but I'd have to think about. I mean, I don't go to NFL games. I won't go to NFL games anymore because it's just so probably.
There's too much stuff going on.
There's too many drunks, man. I just
Yeah.
can't. It's.
Ever since I went in the press box and then I went back outside.
By the way,
next day-
I don't want to go to the press box either
Oh yeah.
for NFL games. I have no interest in being anywhere near an NFL
Look,
game.
if they give me the crab cakes, I'm fine with that. I mean, the crab cake press. I mean,
Yeah, the
press
Ravens.
box-
The
yeah,
Ravens
the
treat you
Ravens-
incredibly
yeah,
well.
they do a
It's
really good job
unbelievable
with
how
the
the
food.
Ravens treat the people that cover them. But they've always they give me crap all the time. They're like, why don't you come back to games? I'm like, because I have to walk through a mountain of drunks. I'm uninterested. I'm uninterested in going. I see every week there's a new video about drunks fighting somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Every freaking week there's a new one. Every week.
Look, I'll
good.
happily fight a Red Sox fan though. I'll
Okay,
happily
well
fight
you're
a
also
Red Sox-
6'7". We've already been through this.
Well, I
I'm not
mean,
interested
look.
in that part of my life any longer.
Well, I don't think I ever told you this story. I went to the Ravens Patriots game in 2019,
Okay, yeah.
and you can
The Sunday
you-
night game.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you
Which, by the way,
smell-
like, if I ever were to go to a game, it sure as F will not be a primetime game.
I love
Because
the primetime
No,
games.
everybody drinks all day.
Yeah,
it is the
that's true.
drunkest crowd you could get.
So I'm sitting about 2/3 of the way up maybe halfway up of the upper deck
Yeah.
in the end zone
Yeah.
with next to my lovely wife, and
He's
you
learning.
smell.
He's learning. Normally he would just say Laura, and then I'd be like, dude, you have to remind everybody who she is. People don't. It could be a singer, Laura Branigan. People just don't know.
Me and Laura Brannigan, we go
Yeah,
way
right.
back. I don't know who that is.
She's a singer. She did a song.
1980s, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
But she did Gloria. Is that who that is? She
Was
might
it
have done
her?
Gloria. I'll double check on that. Go ahead.
So all you can smell is vomit.
Oh my
That's
god.
all.
100%.
That's all you can smell, and I'm like, this isn't just like maybe a little bit. This is like a lot of vomit that you can
Oh,
Yeah.
smell.
God.
So
Yeah.
I get up and
I'm out.
and I go to the bathroom, and as I'm walking down, I see a guy sitting there in his aisle seat with his feet in his own vomit.
Yes, you
Oh
did.
my
And we're
God.
Yeah, you did.
we're talking about a lot of vomit. So I go to the bathroom. I come back, and this guy's just sitting. His eyes are basically crossed. He's so drunk, sitting in a puddle of his own vomit. I looked at him. I said, "You need to leave."
Yeah.
I was like, I was like,
Yeah, you need help.
I said, "You're sitting in your own vomit, and everybody in this section, like, this is disgusting." And he just stared at me, like I didn't have it in me to just let it go. Like I was so disgusted by this man. How do you A, vomit in a stadium, B, vomit where you're sitting, and C, continue to sit in the vomit the rest of the game? And he didn't move. He just sat there in a puddle of his own vomit.
That's why I think my idea of I had an idea a long time ago. I don't know if you all are following what's going on with soccer in the States, but the USL is thinking about switching their league time to be like fall, the European leagues where they're running through the fall, winter, and spring.
Yeah.
And so one of my ideas was that if Baltimore were to get a team, they could play it like in the morning. They play in the morning, and then the Ravens game, they play at Camden Yards. Then
So
they
you
play
go
at-
over and then you watch that afterwards. I mean,
Yeah,
it sounds
yeah,
great to
that would
me.
Be, that would be insane.
Sounds great to me.
But it would be horrible for the public intoxication that would be going on during that time. Could you imagine
Bro.
a fully packed Camden Yards
Well-
for a soccer game, and then all those people go over to the Ravens
Bro.
game right after?
I'm
mean,
out. I'm out. I'm out.
Look, I love soccer.
I love soccer, too,
Yeah,
but
I would 100%. Baltimore should get a World Cup game.
Well,
I'm just
hopefully, I don't feel great about it, but hopefully, I mean, the Baltimore would be involved in the World Cup in some way, but I'm hoping that it's because
just
of
a
games.
game.
I tell you where I will go, however, to hang out is the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. Kyle Andrews is with us here this morning. So I do want to talk a little sports, but because you covered the Big Ten this year, you're on top of it. I want to get your perspective on. I wrote a column a couple weeks ago about Maryland and getting bowl eligible and whether or not you can actually consider that an accomplishment, if it's really something to be celebrated. And I said, given all of the circumstances, given everything, the totality of everything we're talking about, given, the fact that this is a Maryland program that is just a couple years removed from maybe the worst tragedy in modern times in sports, and a new coaching staff having to come in, take over, and given that they're coming off, the absurdities of the pandemic, All of these, when you consider everything and what they're up against in their own division, I was willing to say, look, I'm not throwing a parade for it, but as far as a step in the trajectory, yeah, I think it's worth noting and saying it is some accomplishment of some sort. It required them to win some real games this year. They had to beat West Virginia. They had to go to Illinois and beat them. Like, they had to win some actual games this year in order to get to 6 wins. They couldn't get 6 wins against just Rutgers and crap teams. They had to win a game or two. Not against, they didn't beat their best opponents, but they had to win some real games. The fear that I have is that's not going away. Like, it's not like next year suddenly that division is going to be any more winnable. Michigan State gave $1 billion to Mel Tucker to try to make sure that, like, they stay as a real threat moving forward. And we know Ohio State ain't going anywhere. Michigan finally breaks through with Jim Harbaugh this year, and clearly, James Franklin stays at Penn State moving forward. They're not going anywhere. So I want to get your perspective on. I believe in Mike Locksley. I believe in that he has this program headed in the right trajectory, but I am very concerned that, like, there's a cap to it, and there isn't really necessarily a next level for the Maryland football program to move to.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think there is a next level just because based off of, recruiting in the area and also going elsewhere. I think some of the things that, for instance, like I look at Penn State, and Penn State's getting a lot of the high, the upper echelon guys in Maryland. Mike Locksley's starting to fight off James Franklin for that. And we all know James Franklin's history.
Finally made an inroad at St. Francis this year.
Mm-hmm. Doing a pretty good job of that. I mean, he's gotten kids at Maryland. I mean, at McDonough,
Mm-hmm.
Preston Howard's going there. Preston's going to be a really good weapon for Maryland, I think, down the line. I'm not just saying that because he's a kid that I covered. But I saw what he can do just in terms of, he played quarterback, but he's probably going to be a tight end. I mean, this kid, if he lines up 6'6", 230 pounds, I mean, you could use him as an X wide receiver. You could use him as a slot guy, as a tight end that's going to work the slot, and then also an inline tight end. I mean, he's talented, and the thing is, I mean, Maryland's only going to get better at recruiting. I think defensive line-wise, they added a lot in the 2021 class. We also have to remember that Terrence Lewis tore his ACL before the season even started. I mean, that kid's super talented.
Oh, but he's out. He transferred out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, I say unfortunate. I reported this. I talked to a few sources that think that it was just never going to work for Terrence Lewis at Maryland. Like, it was just never going to be a thing, and that internally they were not disappointed when he chose to transfer out, unfortunately. I mean, I still, I don't wish any harm, and they might be wrong, right?
Yeah.
Like, it might very well be that this kid's.
Yeah, you never know.
But I was, I just.
Some schools just aren't, good fits for certain players. Like, I mean, that's why, this whole transfer portal thing, all these people are chiming in on it. I'll tell you what. If coaches can go wherever they want,
I
have no issue with the kids going wherever they want.
The complaint that, like, it's created free agency, I'm like, yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah.
Like, that's the concept. You nailed it.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. It's created free agency. And, yeah, some kids might make a choice and later regret it. Like, that might be the case, but that's how the world works.
Yep.
Like, that's – I don't know if you know this. This is crazy. I went to UMBC for a year, and then I transferred away from UMBC. It's crazy. And I wasn't a football player. And I was able to do that because I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works.
Yep.
That,
I mean, we both are products of transfer.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if you don't fit at a school, if you don't feel like you fit the culture of a school, or if the culture of the school doesn't fit you, then, I have no problem with you leaving. I mean, it's a ton of kids that transferred from Penn State this offseason. But, I mean, it's, it happens. It just happens.
Look, college football does have another problem. It's awkward with the December recruiting window. Like, I think you guys know that a few bowl games have been canceled. One of them was the Hawaii Bowl last week. And part of it was COVID, but admittedly a lot of it was that, like, something like 20 kids transferred from Hawaii. And so they just had a depleted roster. It's an awkward thing where the season's still going on. Like, and we talked about it with the Notre Dame thing. I don't care that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame. It doesn't affect me in any way. And a lot of people at Notre Dame think they might be better off for it, right? Like, I don't care about Notre Dame, so it's not my thing. But it's awkward that they could have been playing in the playoff. Like, that they were one more team loses. if Michigan loses to Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, Notre Dame's playing in the playoff, and their coach is taking it. Like, it's just an awkward thing for college football that, like, the season is still going on, and yet players and coaches are all leaving when the regular season, and they got to figure something out about that. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what the answer is.
Change the window.
Yeah, the recruiting window is the reason why the coaches, because they open that December signing day. That's the reason why all these schools want to have their coaches in place, is for the December signing day period.
Because of spring football. I think that's the biggest thing, is because spring football is right around the corner, and they want to have everything set up before spring football. Either that, or they just need to start the season earlier.
Or, I don't know. I don't know what they need. Well, I think the argument would be you need to start it later so that you run up closer to the start of the bowl season, so the bowls just feel like a continuation of the season or something like that. But it's awkward as hell. I mean, it's awkward as hell. And obviously the COVID thing is a problem on top of it. And somebody would say, I don't really care about the bowls, and I get it. Like, I get it. I get not caring about the bowls, but still, you know, it's what it is. All right, we got a lot to do still on the show today. Kyle Andrews is here. People can follow you on Twitter.
At Kyle J. Andrews _. Don't do that on Instagram, by the way. Somebody hacked my Instagram.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the old one anyway.
What, I mean, were they trying to be a fake you, or were they?
Well, apparently, I made a TikTok about it.
Were they sending out Instagrams where they were like, the Golden Knights suck, the Coyotes are the best?
Wow,
is that what they were doing?
Absolutely not.
No one has ever sent that. That has never occurred.
Yeah, especially not in the past couple of
All right,
years.
settle down. I don't need it. I don't need it from you. God, everybody. There's nothing people love doing. The day that the story came out about the Coyotes not paying their rent, not paying taxes, no one has ever cared about the Arizona Coyotes. I'm the only human being on the planet that loves it. 6,000 people sent me. I'm like, bro, I know. Thank you.
You better ask Kevin Durant to hurry up with that.
Right. Go build a new arena for me. God, Jesus. Yeah, seriously. Anyway, Kyle's a big Golden Knights fan, which is weird. It's we dealt with the fandom thing with you.
I mean,
it's a weird.
But that's the only. Here's the thing: the Golden Knights are the.
But we also know that Paul's a front runner. We know that he's a terrible human being that roots for all. No, so we're not. It's what it is.
It's all the local teams plus the Golden Knights plus, ironically enough, another Golden team, the Golden Bears. And
it's very weird.
Like,
but do I see a Pittsburgh Pirates sticker on your water bottle?
Well, I went to Pittsburgh. So all the places that I've gone, I've gotten, like, stickers and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like one of those old suitcases you just slap the stickers on. So, yeah, I have a Baltimore, Maryland sticker, of course. I'm going to get a New Orleans sticker somewhere on here, too. I mean, it's been other places I've gone, but this is all the places that I've gone since.
You got that water bottle. Yeah, I get that. I get that. All right, hey, one of the questions I put up today on Twitter, and I want to get more responses to it. We'll talk about it later on in the show. I want to know whether it was this year or it was a past year. Inevitably, there's someone in your life that literally all they know about you is that you like sports. That's it. That's all. That's literally the only trait they're aware of about you, which is ironic for some of us because we don't really even like sports all that much anymore. That's all they know. And so you've gotten a gift either this year or I'm opening it up to any year that reflected the fact that all this person knew about you was you like sports. That's it. They don't know who you like. They don't know what you want. All they know is I'll get them something related to sports in some capacity. I want to know what that gift was. Share that with us at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. What's the gift that you got from someone? Because all they know, the single thing they are aware of about you is that you are a fan of sports. And you might have to tell the story of why it's ironic because, like, somebody, Paul from Orlando, for example, said, when my mom was still living in England, she got me a Manchester United tracksuit jacket for Christmas. I'm like, well, that sounds nice. And Paul has to inform, I've been a Man City fan since I was a kid. So getting that was akin to a Ravens fan getting a Steelers jacket as a gift. That's the type of thing that I'm looking for. So you might have to explain a little bit as to why the gift was so particularly bad when you share yours, but I want that today at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. What's the gift you got just because somebody, all they know about you is that you're into sports? Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil helps extend engine life. Visit your local Jiffy Lube service center. Ask for Mobil 1. Patrick Stevens is going to join us. Talk a little Terps, a little college hoops. That's next, Glenn Clark Radio. Hey, it's Glenn Clark for Window Nation. Cold weather has arrived, and that means one thing: higher energy bills. But the good news is that Window Nation is here to help. For a limited time, get 50% off all style windows, bays, bows, double hung, and sliders, plus a house of windows for only $99 a month. Rising natural gas prices are affecting everyone, but new Window Nation windows can help. Get 50% off any style window and a house of windows for only $99 a month. Call Window Nation today at 866-90NATION or go online at windownation.com. That's December only. Tell them Glenn Clark sent you.
Need to hone your computer skills to boost your career? Or maybe you want an IT certification? CCBC Continuing Education has the courses and programs you need for a career in the computer field. And it's all tuition free. From the basics to specialized training, we have the classes you need, from hardware to programming to cybersecurity and so much more. It's your choice. It's your career. Call 443-840-4700 or visit ccbcmd.edu/computer training.
Duffy's Garage is a family-owned and operated car care facility in beautiful Baldwin, Maryland. An authorized Maryland inspection station and Napa Pro Care Center with ASE-certified techs. Tell them that Glenn Clark sent you and receive 10% off your service with a max discount of $150. You gotta trust where you take your car, so take it to where I take mine. Duffy's Garage in Baldwin. Duffy'sGarageMD.com.
I love driving my tractor trailer, and just like you, I just want to make it to my destination safely. If you drive too closely to my truck, I can't see you, and you can't see what's in front of me. If I have to brake suddenly, our lives can be changed forever. If a truck stops quickly, can you? Don't tailgate trucks.
Brought to you by the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration.
The latest issue of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special annual Best of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
You've got questions. They've got answers. Sure, I mean, we'll go with that. It's Glenn and Paul on Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. Kyle Andrews is here hanging out with us today. Today's show also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Football. If you're not playing Underdog, you are a silly goose. We got free money for you. If you deposit up to $100 and use the code PRESSBOX when you do, then we will match that with free money for you to play with. UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. It's the daily and weekly fantasy games. Plus, they've got for you player props, parlays. You can feel like you're betting. Look, we're glad that betting has finally made it to brick and mortar here in the state of Maryland, but unfortunately, you're still not going to be able to bet on your phone or on your computer for a while. But you can do that when you play Underdog Fantasy Football. Again, UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app in order to play. All right, Patrick Stevens is going to join us here in just 1 minute. From Kevin. Kevin says, Glenn, 100% this year. This is good. 100% this year, I got an autographed baseball for Christmas, which was a pretty neat gift. It was from an old friend of mine, and I'm guessing he just got it and was looking for something cheap to give me. It was an autographed John Olerud baseball. Like, no disrespect to John Olerud, but why do I care? This is perfect.
Former batting champion.
That's fine. God bless him. This is perfect because this isn't even like... literally all this says is, all I know about you is sports. Here, I have this John Olerud autographed baseball, and I don't want that. I know you like sports. I'll just give it to you because you might want a John Olerud autographed baseball for some reason. What that reason is, I don't know. No earthly idea. Other than I know you like sports. That's the type of gift that I'm looking for today. Kyle, do you have one? Have you received, either this year or at some point in your life, a gift that reflected merely the fact that all they know about you is that you like sports?
I think it was, I want to say it was it was when I was in college. It was when I was at McDaniel, and one of my friends, they went somewhere. I think they went to it was some place that had a National League team.
Okay.
I think it might have been the Reds. They got me a Reds baseball.
Oh, sure.
A Red signed baseball, and I can't exactly remember who it was, but I mean, it was just like, what?
Right, yeah, correct. Thanks.
I was like,
Thanks.
who is this? And you know what I did? I held on to it for a couple
Do you
of
want?
years.
I've got Patrick Stevens and I went to a Reds game a couple years ago. I still have to this day a Scott Schebler bobblehead. If you want it, I can. Kyle, I might be willing. Now that I know that you, of course, love the Cincinnati Reds, I might be willing to add it to your collection.
It was just such a random thing.
Yes, it's
was
quite
like,
random.
Okay, the Reds. I'm like, all right, well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I like sports. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Joining us now, as he does every week, of course, you follow him on Twitter at Discourse D1S Course. Read his stuff in the Washington Post. He's our buddy Patrick Stevens. He's back with us now here on GCR. Patrick, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, Glenn, and you?
We were just talking to Kyle, and we're doing this topic this morning, and I'm sure you've got. You collect things, so this might be a little bit different for you. The gift that someone gave you at some point, because literally all they know about you is sports.
The gift that somebody gave me because I have a book that's like isn't that perfect right there? That the gift.
Oh yeah,
book,
I mean,
right?
by the way, this actually, I'm not sure it was a gift. It was something that you might have purchased for 20 cents at some point.
This was a gift. This was something. I got something that was essentially, my mom has a pen pal that she got to know that lived in France.
Okay.
And so they wanted to send along something to everybody in the family.
Okay.
And so there's like a pictorial history of English football that was printed in like the 80s or early 90s or something like that. And so I have that book as a result of that.
I love the fact that you still have it, though, actually. That makes me very happy that you still have a pictorial history of English football to this day. I might borrow that from you at some point just for the sake of the fun of the conversation. All right, sir. Maryland's set to return to action tonight. Not the original opponent, which is a bummer for our friends at Loyola, but it's going to be Lehigh. Didn't Lehigh used to be good? Like, I did not realize that it was such a difficult start to the season for Lehigh.
Yeah, and Lehigh struggled a bit the last few years. I mean, they were consistently one of the top teams in the Patriot League, I would argue, for about a decade or so. And they obviously had the famous upset of Duke in 2012. But when you look at what they were able to do in terms of Patriot League victories, from 15 to 19, they had 10, 13, 12, 11, and 12, which in an 18-game schedule is pretty good.
Yeah.
They dipped down a little bit in 2020. And then last year wasn't good, and this year has been even leaner so far. They actually were competitive with Rutgers in their season opener, but since then there really hasn't been a whole lot to write home about. They haven't really been all that great at either end of the floor. And perhaps the most encouraging thing for Maryland is Lehigh allows opponents to shoot better than 40% from three. So maybe Maryland can do okay from the perimeter in this game, just like they did against Florida. But that's been an issue for the Terps so far this season in aggregate.
Correct. It's been one of the more significant actual on-the-court issues that they have dealt with. So they get that one tonight. Then they are scheduled to play again on Thursday against Brown. And then before we talk to you again, they're supposed to start Big Ten play. And again, everything is TBA in college basketball. What have we learned so far this season about the Big Ten, Patrick, as we move towards the start of conference play, which, again, is supposed to happen for Maryland Monday, or the restart of conference play, if you will, Monday night against Iowa?
Well, I think at this point, despite the fact that it lost on a buzzer beater at Rutgers, I think Purdue's the best team in the league. And I think you have other teams that have looked pretty good to this point, like Illinois when they're whole, Ohio State with the victory over Duke, and Michigan State all stand out. But I think Purdue probably has the most complete team in the league, maybe the most complete team in the country at this point. I think Michigan's probably been one of the more disappointing teams to this point. That doesn't mean that they can't figure things out at this stage. And the other thing I would say that we've learned about the Big Ten is that at least in a couple spots, the new coaches have worked out well so far. Indiana, I think, has gotten off to a good start under Mike Woodson, and Minnesota's 10-1 under Ben Johnson, the former Xavier assistant. And so when you kind of size up the league, I don't know how many teams I'm willing to completely bury at this point as having absolutely no hope postseason-wise. I mean, I think I would probably bury Nebraska and Penn State at this stage. But, I understand Rutgers has some lousy losses at this point, but there's no reason to think that they can't just grind out a ton of low-scoring victories and kind of revive their season. Maryland still has some pieces. I don't know if they can revive their season to the point of making an NCAA tournament, but there's not a whole lot of places to hide in the conference, especially with certain teams that we thought might not be as good, like Minnesota and Northwestern, that are quite a bit better, and then some of your usual suspects that are just chugging along the way you would normally expect them to. Hadn't even mentioned Wisconsin at this point, and they're 9-2 at this stage.
On the local front, I feel like it's a broken record. Every week we just keep talking about Towson, but every week when we talk, it seems like there's been something else. And I know you saw that last week. That was a pretty emphatic performance for them against what we think is a decent Navy team.
Yeah, and they caught Navy at the right time. I mean, and I hadn't thought about this when we talked last week, and it was pretty apparent when somebody pointed it out to me on Wednesday. Navy basically coming out of exams is the perfect time to get them, where they basically couldn't practice but a couple hours for the entire week leading into that game. So they kind of looked like it. And then John Carter Jr. got hurt, and things got even easier for Towson from there. But that doesn't hide the fact that Towson's playing really well, continuing to play really well. And now the question is, how do they navigate conference play? Ken Pom has them favored in all but one game.
Wow.
Of the entirety of conference play, and that's the February 3rd game up at Hofstra. So now some of those are 1 point, favored by 1 point, and overall it kind of projects a record of 13-5. That's still pretty good. That's a lot better than being picked 8th in the league. So the question now becomes, how soon does Towson actually get back on the floor? Because their first conference opponent, James Madison, had a game zapped this week because of COVID issues. Their second opponent, Drexel, has already had to postpone its first 2 conference games. So it's sort of sit around and wait here for Towson. Hopefully that they're able to get on the floor later in the week, but it might not be until sometime next week or even the week after that they ultimately get this open conference play.
Patrick Stevens with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. I guess that's where I ask for you to give me the rundown of what has and has not. Like where are we with all of the various local teams as far as who's able to play and who isn't at the moment?
It's not a pretty picture at this point. Loyola, Coppin State, Morgan State are all on pause at this point. UMBC has had postponements, sort of a nebulous, out of an abundance of caution. They had one against Mount St. Mary's last week, where if you want to call it blame for who's responsible for the postponement wasn't assigned, but they also had one of those this week. So they've been shelved here for a little bit. Mount St. Mary's is supposed to play tomorrow against Fairleigh Dickinson in the first of 2 Northeast Conference games to open league play here at home. So they're still on the docket at this point. Down in D.C., all 4 schools inside of D.C., Howard, American, GW, Georgetown, all on pause at this point. So there's probably more teams that are sidelined at this stage than are actually able to play at this point. Towson, Mount St. Mary's, I think, Navy, and Maryland still active at this stage, but obviously a very fluid situation all around at this point.
And, of course, you have to have opponents in order for you to be able to play, and that's been a very difficult thing. I guess since the last time we talked, we did get more clarity. Like, they're not actually, as we assume, they're not actually going to have forfeits. Like, that's not actually going to be a thing.
No, not in most places. The NEC, actually, the Mount St. Mary's League, actually doubled down on its forfeit policy. We'll see if that holds up if things get ravaged here in the first couple of weeks. I mean, that seems to be sort of the theme, where you get 2 or 3 forfeits in, and it's like, oh, wait, this isn't really all that good of an idea.
Right.
And I'll reiterate, I think I said this last week, I'm not opposed to the idea of saying, well, if you couldn't play, maybe that hurts you in like a league tiebreaker thing for conference tournament seeding, like just to make it easier that way. if you don't have a head-to-head to work with. But the whole idea of the forfeit, when you're seeing the numbers out there that you're seeing right now, is just absurd. And it's good to see, count the number of leagues that have brought that back here. The ACC, the Big East, the Pac-12, the American Athletic Conference did it as well. So you see more and more of these leagues that are repealing this idea. And it was, under the circumstances, I could get why when
Right.
you didn't think you were going to have an outbreak. But again, this is one of these situations where it makes sense to have some flexibility and adapt very quickly because that's what's required.
All right, so I normally would ask you if there was anything on the national front, but I feel like it's the exact same story everywhere else.
There really is
Yep.
a lot of this all over the place right now.
Unfortunately, that's the reality of the circumstances, and hopefully it won't be like that for the rest of the year, but it ain't looking good at the moment, just the way it is. All right, so let's play our game. Can Patrick Stevens name the MLB teams that this particular player has played for? As far as a 5-team guy, again, our rules for Patrick have been they had to play 5 years past 1980, but I've typically tried to avoid the guys that go very far back. However, we are into slim pickings territory at this point. So, Patrick, I admit that this one, I don't know. I just don't know how much you're going to do about this man because his career legitimately began in 1963.
Okay.
But he was still pitching all the way through to 1989. He was a 4-time All-Star, finished in the top 10 of Cy Young voting 4 times as well, and you most know him for another reason.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Tommy John.
His name is Tommy John. Well, he was definitely a New York Yankee.
Most certainly was a New York Yankee.
Well, I believe, if I recall my mid-1980s Topps baseball cards correctly, he was an Oakland Athletic.
He was an Oakland. That was the shortest stint of his career. He made 11 appearances with the Oakland Athletics. Holy crap.
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Most certainly for 6 seasons.
He was definitely a Chicago White Sox.
For
at the beginning, right?
7 years. And actually, there was a stop before the White Sox for Tommy John.
There was a stop before the White Sox, in 63 or so.
2 years in 63 and 64 in one place, and then the other
well,
one.
I am getting. I believe I can't remember which of the two it is, but I'm getting a very, very strong current AL Central vibe here. And so I'm going to toss out Minnesota.
Oh, you're on the. Oh God, you're sniffing right up the tree.
It Cleveland?
It's Cleveland. For the first 2 years, it was
Okay.
Cleveland. The other stop actually was in the 80s for 4 years. He was a California Angel from
Well,
19.
that was 16.
Oh, did I say 5?
You said 5.
Oh, I thought I said 6. I'm sorry, sir. I apologize. I thought I said 6. That's my fault. My fault. And would you have gotten it?
Let's give me credit for Cleveland and say I'm 5 for 6.
All right, we'll give you
Okay.
5 for 6. 100%. You get that. That's what I thought we were doing. 5 for 6 on Tommy John. All right, so with that in mind, you did pretty well with that one, so I don't have to go too easy on a 4-teamer. So I will toss out this guy. This is a third baseman, of course, who probably played a couple other positions during the course of his career. He was a 3-time All-Star and a World Series champion. 4 teams for Chris Sabo.
Chris Sabo was definitely in Cincinnati.
And, of course, the bulk of his career. And then basically we're talking about 3 teams over 2 seasons.
Yeah, he was in Baltimore for a
In
year.
1994, he was I remember the headline in the Sun said, Chris says he's oh so glad to be one. I'm not kidding. I don't know why I remember that headline. That was the headline.
He was a White Sox,
He
right?
was a White Sox. 100. Dude, if you get this.
So we're coming up with the last of the Chris Sabo stuff.
Yes,
So this
and-
is in either 94 or 95.
You know what? This is not true. He actually went back to Cincinnati in 96.
Okay.
So it was the second half of the 95 season.
Second half of the 95 season for Chris Sabo. Gosh. I'm trying to think of where those rec specs popped up.
Yeah, right?
You know, that's a tricky one.
Oh, but I didn't even realize it. Oh, this is criminal that I asked you. It's 5 games. He played in 5 games. I'm so sorry. This is criminal. You know what? Honest to God, it's about the same guess. It was St. Louis. It was St. Louis for 5 games. Did you know Chris Sabo, currently the head baseball coach of the Akron Zips? That's where Chris
No, I
Sabo.
did not know
I
that.
did not know that either. That's where he finds himself at the
Does he
moment.
still wear the Rex specs?
I guarantee. Well, he has to. I mean, I would like to think that he wore them out like when he went to dinner. I would like to hope that that.
I mean, were they? I mean, was he born with them?
It's a non-zero chance that that's true. All right, sir. I'm assuming you're in College Park tonight.
I am in College Park tonight.
And then everything else pretty TBA.
It is I mean, heck.
Yeah, the
even
world.
Being in College Park tonight.
That's a
TBA
fact. Unfortunately,
at this
that's the
stage.
case.
But yeah, the plan is actually, if we were to pin it down and hope that everything works right, up at Mount St. Mary's tomorrow, back to Maryland on Thursday, and then Towson theoretically on Friday against James Madison. But if that doesn't happen, maybe back to Mount St. Mary's to see them take on Wagner, who should be one of the better teams in the NEC.
All right. Patrick Stevens at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter. And, of course, the Washington Post as well. I appreciate you, my friend. Happy New Year. Let's talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome, Glenn. Take care, and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Patrick Stevens joining us here on GCR. I was so excited about Chris Sabo coming to the Baltimore Orioles in 1994. It's such a dumb thing. Like, there was some momentum because the first couple seasons at Camden Yards. There was this, like, feel that they were going to turn into something. And they signed somebody else, too. It was Sabo and somebody else in 94. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. Was it Kevin? Kevin Brown was 94?
I think it was Palmeiro was 94.
Palmeiro 94? It might have been Palmeiro. That might be right. Dude, I was so excited.
Oh, he was a 25 homer, 25 steal guy in Cincinnati the year before, and then he did nothing.
Nothing.
He was like Glenn Davis.
Nothing at all. I mean, we don't think of it that way because he was signing. They didn't trade anything for him.
Right.
Like, and it was 1 year. And as we know, the season got canceled anyway. It was sort of irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, I was so excited about Chris friggin' Sabo being a Baltimore Oriole. I was like, this is the moment. That team, Palmeiro. I feel like there was somebody else. I feel like there was a pitcher.
It may have been Kevin Brown.
Nah, it wasn't Kevin Brown. Their rotation, who would the rotation have been for the 94
Maybe
Orioles?
Jamie Moyer?
Jamie Moyer might have been. Might have been Jamie Moyer, yeah. But I was jacked up, man. I was ready to run through a wall over stupid Chris Sabo. The rotation was Messina, McDonald, Jamie Moyer, indeed. But I don't know if it was first year or not. Sid Fernandez. Oh, I forgot they brought in Sid Fernandez. And then they experimented with Arthur Rhodes as a starter that season for 10 games.
Yeah, he came up as a starter, but he made his money.
He was quite good out of the bullpen. Stayed in the majors until like 2010, 12, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
I used to wait on him at Bonefish in Bel Air. I waited on him a couple of times.
Jamie Moyer and I were always cool. And, in fact, when the Orioles brought him back on that minor league deal in, what would have that been, 11, somewhere around then, when he was like 47 years old.
Right.
Yeah, was it 12?
Yeah, I think it was 12 because.
No, it was a year they were good.
I think it was because I was still on the grounds crew during that time.
I can't believe it.
I
was
on
12.
the grounds crew in 2011 too, but
I thought it was a bad team that signed Jamie. Maybe it was 12. You might be right about that. But he was 49. It was 2012. Well done, Kyle. It was 2012. He was 49 years old, and I had him call in because we had a decent relationship. So I had him call into the show. Which was, as you remember, their old radio station that doesn't exist anymore, we would get in a lot of trouble whenever we had an Orioles player on, and they would get in trouble because they weren't supposed to come on with us. But Jamie and I were always cool, and I said something like, Jamie, can you even throw the ball faster than your son at this point? Like, is that? And he was genuinely mad at me, like mad that I asked the question, like furious that I asked. And I thought we were.
How old was his son? Was his son like 5 or was his son like 17?
No, he wasn't 5, but he wasn't 17 either. I think his son was like maybe 12 or like. I hadn't talked to him in a long time, so I was trying to do like a let's catch up, like how old. And he told me how old his kid was, and I was like, dude, like this is an honest question. Who throws the ball faster? And he was pissed. Like,
oh man,
pissed. It was awkward. It was incredibly uncomfortable. I remember we had booked, I want to say Drew did the same thing. Drew, one time, there was a team from Maryland that was doing well in the Little League World Series, and I want to say it was 08, 09, something like that. And, like, they were advancing, and it was looking like they were going to, and so Oral Hershiser was doing the Little League World Series, and so I called Oral Hershiser. I'm like, hey, would you come on and talk about this team from Maryland? He was like, hell yeah. So we had him on. And Drew, I don't know how old Oral Hershiser was at this point, but Drew said, Oral, if you were pitching against these kids, Like, how would you do or something? It was a dumb question, but it was not. It was a harmlessly dumb question. And Oral Hershiser said something like, "What are you, stupid? I'd strike them all out." I was like, I don't understand why you're so offended by this. Like, it's a harmless, it's just a silly, like, I don't know why people take it very personally. And somebody tried explaining to me, somebody was friends with Jamie Moyer and messaged me and was like, dude, you understand he's still trying to get back into the major leagues. So, like, playing along with that probably doesn't look so good. It's probably not a fun thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. But still, did it require that reaction? It was a silly question. It wasn't an offensive question. Come on. Calm down, Jamie Moyer.
Getting back to, I think the pitcher that you were probably excited about was Lee Smith. That was his only year.
Oh, it was
in
94.
Baltimore.
Yeah,
It was
well, he
94.
was great in 94,
Yeah,
too. He was great.
Like 33 saves.
By the way, when he got voted into the Hall of Fame, I couldn't get him to come on the show. It was a really strange. Harold Baines, who everybody was mad about, called him the next day. We called Lee Smith 5 times. He didn't want to talk about it. I was like, people are okay with you being in the Hall of Fame, right? Like, you're not the one that
7 times.
You're not the one that pissed everybody off. Like, everybody's like, oh yeah, Lee Smith's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, sure, that works. I mean, like, he's definitely, was he a lock or a slam dunk? No, but he's certainly among the top 10 closers of all time. Maybe one of the top 5 closers of all time. If I really sat and thought about it, right? It's Rivera, it's Eckersley, it's Armando Benitez, it's
Trevor Hoffman, Billy Wagner.
You totally just let me throw that. You just totally missed it.
Did you say Armando Benitez?
My God, man!
I think I have
Paul.
such repressed memories of Armando Benitez. His name doesn't even register to me anymore. He was good for like 3 years with the Mets.
He was actually. Well, he was okay. They were way more excited about him than they should have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, the moral of the story is that Lee Smith was not offensive to get into the Hall of Fame, especially in context of the other guy that got in that we were all offended by. Lee Smith, we were like, oh, okay, sure, right? Like, that's fine.
I was okay with Harold Baines getting in.
Yeah, no.
If you had an extra hit per month to his career, one extra hit per month, he's got 3,000 hits, and
it's not a thing.
You can argue he's one of the top 10 DHs of all time.
Well, he's certainly one of the top 10 DHs of all time.
Right.
But that doesn't make you one of the best baseball players of all time. Like, this is the problem that I have eternally with that. Like, somebody would say, well, then do you think that no specialist should get in the Football Hall of Fame? It's a different thing. That's all those people can do. In order to be a DH, it has to be because you can't help defensively.
Well, his knees were destroyed.
I understand that, but it matters. Like, it matters. There's not.
I feel like if your bat's amazing.
But it's got to be a certain level of amazing.
Harold Baines could roll out of bed right now and hit 260.
No, but I understand what you're trying to say.
Right.
Like, he can't actually do that, but I get it. But, like, my point being, Harold Baines is a hell of a player, and I'm not – I'm typically the person that says, I'm good with a bigger, broader Hall of Fame, and it's a museum. We can't take these things too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no world in which Harold Baines merited – like, in order to get in as a DH – and some people have made this argument about relief pitchers that, like, you have to acknowledge that you're a relief pitcher because you're a failed like, nobody starts as a reliever.
Mm-hmm.
You become a reliever because you're a failed starter. So in order to get into the Hall of Fame as a reliever, you have to be otherworldly, right? And I don't disagree with that inherently. Lee Smith was more otherworldly as a closer than Harold Baines was otherworldly as a hitter. Harold Baines was a really good hitter. In no world was he a Hall of Famer. I like Harold Baines.
I definitely did a double take when they said Harold Baines got into the Hall of Fame. But I was happy for the guy. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Harold Baines, right?
So does he get a bronze statue in the picnic area?
No.
Him holding hands with Mike Mussina.
So don't get me started about the Mussina thing.
I love Mike Mussina. He's my favorite pitcher of all time.
But it genuinely pisses me off. Like, I'm genuinely bothered by the Orioles treating him that way. Mike, if you do this, is this your standard for your Hall of Famers? Mike Mussina is unquestionably an Orioles Hall of Famer. This thing where we're all so obsessed, like, we are so, it's a bigger problem in our country. It's the tell me I'm pretty thing. Like, who gives a rat's ass what's on someone's plaque in the Hall of Fame?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how petulant you are that that's something that you're concerned about. What a childish thing for the organization to treat him differently because he wouldn't put the Orioles on his cap. It didn't even put the Yankees on there. He put nothing.
Well, but you
So
can make
childish.
the argument that all the guys that have statues all won World Series titles. It's not his fault. It's not he did everything possible in that 97 playoff run. He was the best pitching performance in postseason history.
I just feel like they need to stop making different rules for like. I understand what you're saying, of course, Paul, and it's just like, to me, Give him the plaque.
I mean,
give him the bronze statue.
That's what you do for your Hall of Famers.
Guys, he's my favorite pitcher of all time. I want him to have a statue.
Oh, yeah,
I understand why they haven't.
I don't. I don't
literally,
understand why they haven't.
What I've been told is that it's all the other guys won World Series.
No, they haven't ever officially said anything.
Nobody officially
they're
said it,
trying,
but this is
they're
what
trying
I've
to
been
come up
told.
with something to pass off the fact that he didn't put the Orioles on his plaque in the World Series. That's all this is because he wouldn't choose to go in as an Oriole. We won't stop it. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. It's bothered me from day one.
We need to stop doing the whole Baltimore against the world.
We're
bit.
so small in these
it's like-
ways. We're
it's like-
so small.
It's like, oh my God, nobody. When you leave, nobody cares. Nobody cares that you're from here.
Right.
You know, and I love this place. I do. But we need to stop acting like we're 2 feet tall. And we need to start acting like, we're our actual height.
Well, just acknowledge what we
yeah,
are.
6'7".
It's in the same way. I don't. Oh boy, this is gonna go down a different path. I don't really want to go to. Let me remind you, cold weather's here. That means one thing: higher energy bills. Good news is Window Nation is here to help for December only, and that's only 3 more days. Get 50% off all style windows and a house of windows for only $99 a month. Call Window Nation today, 866-90Nation, or visit windownation.com. It has always bothered me when I have no problem if you're into the Capitals, if you're into the Wizards, God bless you, right? Like that, fine. You know what I mean? Like
I'm unfortunately into the Wizards.
That's your thing. It's not. I'm over that. There was a time in my life where it like genuinely pissed me off. It doesn't anymore. Like I get it. You be into whoever you're into. People don't understand how I'm into the Phoenix teams. Well, I live there. And I'm only into the two that I didn't have teams here. Like I'm not a Phoenix I'm not an Arizona Diamondbacks fan.
So is it okay that I was a Cowboys fan in the early to mid '90s?
You were a front runner. It's
was a
different.
kid.
I lived in Phoenix. It's a different conversation. I lived there.
I mean, the Ravens came when I was 2, so
Right. Yeah. You've only ever had
They
the
came when
Ravens.
I was 12. I switched to the Ravens
Yes,
when they got here.
And I said before, I rooted for players. I didn't have a team. I rooted for players. It bothers me because what I want to say is like, we're playing college basketball in Baltimore. Like kids from here play on those teams. And nobody will go out and watch UMBC or watch Towson or watch Loyola or watch Morgan or watch Coppin. Like we won't even, there's no world in a real city, their regional sports network would air some of those games. In Boston, they put games on Nesson. In real cities, there are games on all those. And every now and then, it lucks out that like UMBC was playing at an ACC team, so it got to be on Masson because of that. But there is, and it used to be that like the Masson would allow you to buy time to put your games on Masson, but now all the schools are like, well, we broadcast all the games online, so we don't care about that anymore. It pisses me off that we obsess with DC teams and don't care at all about the things that are happening in our own city. That's why Patrick Stevens comes on with us every week, because it's happening here. It's ours. We don't have to borrow somebody else's thing and be small. We can celebrate our own things. It's okay. We're allowed to do that. And I'm not pointing at you, Kyle, because you're like the Wizards. It's not a thing.
That's the only DC team I like, by the way.
And by the way, Kyle actually cares about local sports.
Not only that, too, but with the Wizards, my mom worked for MCI, so
because of the MCI Center for years, right?
Yeah, I used to get
the phone booth, as they called it,
we
right?
got tickets as a kid, and I used to watch. Unfortunately, old Michael Jordan play.
Yeah, right at the end of his career.
Yeah, who completely destroyed the franchise by, drafting Kwame Brown. So,
Yep.
But I mean, I just think locally we have to support those teams.
That's the thing that it bothers me.
And we have to talk about them more. I mean, that falls on us as the media as well.
Well, and it's a chicken and the egg thing, because I don't know.
It's like both.
Somebody, if I was over, and God bless you, I love you, Chuck Sapienza, but if I went over to work, if I took him up and went over and worked over there, and I said I want to talk about local hoops, he'd say to me, "What are you doing? You're gonna chase away all the audience. You can't do that here. You can't. That's not the way that it works." I don't know that it's our fault for not covering it versus people's fault. It's everybody
both.
together.
Yeah.
And Terry Nolan is one of the most special human beings on the face of the planet. I love Terry Nolan as a human being. He's special, and he's a Baltimore kid, and he has a chance to do something special at Towson this season. He's got them to the point where this might be the best Towson team we've had in, the Jarrell Benjamin team was pretty good, but outside of that, I mean, he's a Baltimore kid doing it at Towson. Go watch that. Pay attention. And I'm not trying to get on a soapbox. I'm not holier than thou. But you want to watch the Capitals? Go fine, watch the Capitals. That's your choice. But we don't have to be small. We can love our own. We can support our own. We can be into it. We're capable of it. If they play on Friday, I'm taking. By the way, we're not. I don't think I've told you this. It's the heck of a way for me to tell you. We're not doing a show on Friday.
Oh, you told me.
It's a company holiday because Saturday's New Year's Day, and obviously you don't do a holiday on Saturday. So there's not going to be a GCR on Friday because it's a company holiday. So you know what I'm going to do on Friday? If Madison's able to play, I'm going to take my kids over and watch the Towson-Madison game on Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock because I like to support what's happening here. Unlike most people in town, I go to Morgan State and watch games there. Can't do it right now. Unfortunately, they're not playing. I would like for them to be playing. Yeah. I go to Coppin State.
Coppin has a beautiful arena.
It's an unbelievable facility, correct.
It's not far
unbelievable
from here
facility, correct, yes.
Yeah, I mean, like...
I've actually set foot in Mondawmin Mall to get some pizza before a Coppin game.
Don't be scared all
the
time.
Yes, it's okay.
I think that's the problem. We've had
and
so
I'm,
much
I'm
fear
probably the
mongering.
whitest person you know. Probably.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I'm in central Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, you do know some white people. God, it is white. They announced that a Penn State game is going to be a whiteout, and Kyle's like all the other ones?
James Franklin's the only person that stands out. You know, it's him and the team.
And you. And you. Correct.
And my friend Elton Hayes. That's literally it.
Look, man, I hate doing this because I really don't. If you're into the Capitals, you're into the Capitals. That's your right. That's your choice. Nobody can tell you who should root for and who shouldn't. I just wish we supported us a little bit more. I wish that we paid a little bit more attention to what was going on here instead of trying to find something that's like what the cool kids do. And so it's bothered me eternally. I don't talk about it a lot. I try to do it quietly. It's why I put all the basketball coaches on. It's why when Terry Nolan decided he was transferring to Towson, I put Terry Nolan on this show because he was a Baltimore kid doing something special. I wish that we would support that more. I wish
the Baltimore area team. Well, I mean the mid-major schools mostly for the most part play against each other. You know, I told everyone I think that, you know, they should bring back
the Battle of Baltimore.
That would be a good idea.
One of the coaches that came in this year was, I think it might have been Tavares, was like, I really think there might be some movement on that.
Okay.
I really think there might be. It would be very good.
And I think they also, you know, the other thing too is that Morgan State is playing at the All-Star weekend this year against Howard.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Fingers crossed. But you know, those things we have to understand as a local. I mean, you know, being in Baltimore, we have to support those things that are going on. Basketball, you know, women's basketball, I don't understand why no one's supporting the women that are playing around here. I mean, the women stay in state. Everybody, you could give, you know, everybody gripes about the guys leaving and everything, but the girls, they stay in state, you know. I mean, and they're really talented. And a lot of, I mean, Loyola has a girl from Pikesville High. You know, I can't tell you how many other schools have local players that played in the IAM or in Baltimore County or Harford County or Anne Arundel County. I mean, support them. Navy, too. I mean, same thing. You know, Naval Academy, one thing, I looked on their roster. They had a ton of kids that were from Gilman, Spalding.
And that's not always the case there. Yeah. You know, obviously that's more of a national brand and different reasons why people go there. But, no, I appreciate you echoing the sentiments, and I know you're someone who does. All right, I got to get a break here. We're supposed to we're hoping to chat with. Oh, we're good. We're going to chat with Daniel Wilcox. We'll talk some Ravens here in a minute. Today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
What's up, everybody? This is Tyus Bowser. I can't wait to see you guys for the Tyus Bowser Show this fall. We're going to be taking the show on the road all over the area. You can meet me and my very special guests. If you can't make it out, you can watch the show on live on Pressbox Facebook page or listen the next day. Find out more about where we'll be by checking out PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. We'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show.
Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A Catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Window Depot Baltimore provides the highest quality Pro Via windows, doors, and siding for all budgets. The best is finally affordable. Call them today for a free in-home consultation at 410-941-3499. They also offer Zoom and FaceTime consultations in an effort to practice social distancing. A proud sponsor of the Tyus Bowser Show, you can find out more at WindowDepotBaltimore.com.
Hey, it's KZ. The Pressbox Fantasy Football Show is back, as always, on Thursdays. You can catch it at 11:30. We're brought to you this year, CCBC and Glory Days Grill. You can catch the show two ways, Facebook.com/PressboxSports or PressboxOnline.com/radio. The /radio is if you want to listen. On Facebook is if you actually want to see my ugly face. We're going to have a lot of fun this year. DFS, daily lineups, keepers, all kinds of fun stuff. Please tune in, Pressbox Fantasy Football Show, every Thursday, 11:30 a.m. If you miss anything, don't forget that you can find whole shows later on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcasts. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. We continue on a Tuesday edition of the program. Our buddy Kyle Andrews is with us in studio. Today's show also brought to you by Glory Days Grill. The seasonal menu is those comfort food classics like the short rib grilled cheese sandwich. So good. Plus the, how about the center cut sirloin with the grilled shrimp, the char grilled pork tenderloin, the house-made meatloaf with the grilled meatloaf sandwich, the smoky thigh wings with the Alabama barbecue sauce, and a Brussels and bacon appetizer. It's all available at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. You don't want to sit at the restaurant. We get it right now. Things are it's a difficult time. Put your order in. Take it home. GloryDaysGrill.com. One of our favorite humans joining us now once again here on GCR, former Baltimore Ravens tight end, now a podcaster. He's part of the Believe Network with our man Bo Smolka doing the Ravens podcast. He is our friend Dan Wilcox. He's back with us on GCR. Dan, what's going on, my friend? It's great to chat with you. It's Glenn and Paul and Kyle. Happy New Year, dude. Thank you, as always, taking the time for us.
What's up, man? Thank you guys for having me on, man. Enjoying it, always.
Man, always love to talk to you. I wish there was something more pleasant to talk about, Dan. I wish that was the reality. You know, can you tell me about what it's like when things snowball for a football team? Like, on the field, off the field, losses combined with, you know, guys getting hurt, combined with, you know, obviously when you played, you didn't go through a pandemic. But like when things start to snowball, how difficult is that for a group of people to avoid the feelings of like, woe is me, and, well, it's just not meant to be? Like, how tough is it to go through something like this?
I mean, it's hard. I don't care what the situation is. You know what I mean? Of course, you got extenuating circumstances with COVID and stuff like that right now, and COVID's bringing a whole other monster and beast to this thing. You always have to deal with injuries. 100% injury rating. It's 100% injury rating in this league. Every year you're going to have injuries. You don't know how big they're going to be, how bad they're going to be, whether they're going to be season-ending injuries or career-ending injuries. You never really know, you know. But the Ravens have just been hit with everything they could be hit with this year, every single thing, and they're still standing. I mean, it's hard to be able to go through all these losses, but when you got 20, 30 guys on IR and on the injured reserve list, and then you got guys, you know, coming up with COVID, you know, week in and week out, and your roster is actually depleted. You know, it's been depleted, man. It was some guys on the field I didn't even know played for the Ravens this past week.
I didn't know who they were. No offense. I didn't know. Isaiah Mack had a hell of a game on Sunday, and my literal thought was, wow, what a game for Isaiah Mack, whoever that is.
Exactly. And then, I turned the television on, guys. I had no idea that Huntley had came down with COVID. And I saw 15. I'm like, who the heck is 15? Why is he starting that quarterback for the Ravens? Like, who is this? Then they said Josh Johnson. I was like, oh, I remember that guy. You know, and it was like, and it's so crazy. Like, that's what you got to be ready to do. All I can say is that the Ravens are blessed to be able to have the player personnel department that they have, to be able to have guys to still be able to come in and fill in these spots. And I was saying earlier, man, that we are extremely blessed. You know, to go against a team that like we just went against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they're loaded with talent on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. But offensively, they have some serious weapons. And to be able to put in your third, fourth string, fifth string guys, you know, sixth string, seventh string guys in certain situations, and then still be able to kind of hold your own. I mean, it was a game for the first half of that game. It was a pretty decent game, you know. And the guys came in and they still played. They played their butts off and they played hard for the city of Baltimore. You know, we didn't get the outcome we wanted. You know, they scored 51 points on some of our best guys the first time. I mean, 41 points on some of our best guys the first time around, and they scored 41 points on some of our worst guys this time around. I mean, like that's not saying, you know, that's not saying like that the Ravens are working backwards or hustling backwards or anything like that, man. But I'm pleased with the team and the organization of Baltimore. I really am. I'm pleased with that franchise. And this is a year they will never have again. This is a once in a lifetime type scenario what's going on this season, and they'll never have it again. The Bengals did what they did with us at our worst. When we're at our best, you know, I don't think nobody wants to see us.
Let me try to unpack a few of the things that you said in there, Dan Wilcox. Let me start with this. If they get, and I know it's a huge if, right, because we just don't know he hasn't practiced yet, Lamar Jackson. But if they were to get him back this week, they're still going to be depleted in a lot of places. Do you believe they can still be a threat to win these last two games? I know they're on the outside looking in at the moment, but like the Dolphins have two really difficult games. Do you believe they can still be a threat to beat the Rams on Sunday should they get Lamar Jackson back?
Well, you know, the movie Any Given Sunday, you know, that name says it all. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. But, I mean, their odds for beating the Rams this week, I haven't seen the standings or the statistics or anything like this. You know, but as beat up as we are right now, I can't see us beating the Rams at all. Like, I can't see our offensive line being able to stop Aaron Donald and company. I can't see that happening. Yeah. I don't care who they put at quarterback. You know, I can't see our receivers being able to get open fast enough against Jalen Ramsey and company. I can't see that happening. You know, our line ain't going to be able to protect fast enough. Our receivers ain't going to be able to get open fast enough. You know, that's a bad combination. You know, you're down to your last line of defense in every single situation. You know, and we got some freaking talented guys. I mean, we got some talented receivers, some talented tight ends. Mark Andrews is probably one of the best I've ever seen with my own eyes. You know, and I've studied a lot of tight ends so that I can get better myself. But watching Mark Andrews play week in and week out it's absolutely phenomenal, man, what he's doing. He's putting together a heck of a season for us this year. But I just can't see us being able to stop the Rams on offense. I think Stafford is having a heck of a year. Cooper Kupp is doing numbers like he's working it like he works for a Vegas casino or something. Doing crazy numbers. You know, but it's gonna be, and they got Odell Beckham. You know, they got some more guys. If you decide to double up Cooper Kupp and take him out the game completely, you still got to worry about Odell and the rest of them guys. You know, so I mean, they got a really really solid team. I can't see us. They're playing right now at the height of what they franchise can play at, and we're playing at the lowest right now what our franchise could possibly play at because of all the injuries and all the people that we're not able to play. And they're healthy. The Rams are healthy just like Cincy is healthy. When the Ravens was healthy a couple of years ago, everybody thought we was winning the Super Bowl.
Yep.
You know, so we're in the exact opposite situation of that. On paper, I still think we're the best team in the world. You know, but unfortunately, when you got to scratch out all those names on paper because they can't play, I mean, we just as average as any team out there.
Dan, you played the position, of course, and you know, with what Mark Andrews has done this season, I mean, just in compare, I know you don't want to necessarily compare him to Todd Heap, but you know, or the other great tight ends that have come through this organization, but you know, what has he done that's so different than, the guys that I just listed off.
Well, to me, one of the things, and you can't ever take this for granted, but quarterback play is huge, right? And I think one of the things that every quarterback every tight end came through this system, they have never had, the quarterback play that Mark Andrews is getting right now. So, if you're able to get Todd Heap the ball 15 times a game, you catch 15 balls a game. It is what it is. You throw Mark Andrews the ball 15 times a game, Mark Andrews going to catch the ball 15 times a game. So you throw me the ball 15 times a game, I'm going to catch the ball 15 times a game. Shannon Sharp, Ben Coates, all the guys before us, So, you've always had elite receiving tight ends in this organization. And the thing to me that stands out with Mark Andrews is that he's just so far ahead of where I feel like I didn't get to where Mark Andrews is right now until like year 5, right? He came in, I want to say it was year 2 when I was up in Baltimore in the scouting department for the all season, and I watched him every day in practice. And I remember in my notes telling, the player personnel department the difference between him and Hayden Hurst. To me, I thought Hayden Hurst was probably the better athlete at the time, but I thought Mark Andrews was mentally like years ahead of Hayden Hurst. And when I say that, to be a really good receiver in this league, you have to understand like geometry. You have to understand angles. You have to understand leverage. You have to understand, shapes and positions and how to make people move and how to make people stay put. And he was able to come in this league with that ability already. Somebody taught him that. I don't know if it was Oklahoma, I don't know if it was high school, whatever it was. He learned things that a lot of receivers don't get a chance to learn until they get older and older into their careers. And he was miles, I'm talking about years ahead of where I thought Hayden Hurst was at that time as far as being able to understand the leverage of how to move the DBs and the linebackers and how to set them up and push them upfield and, press them and then break away when you got to break away and lean on them and push off when you got to lean on them and push off and steal them outside hard to make them widen their stance and widen their splits so that you can slip them up the seam. He just does some really, really, really phenomenal things, man, with his mind and playing the chess game of football. And he allows himself to be in position to make big plays. And then he just has a really great body type. When I say great body type, he has, his arms are long enough to make the catches away from his body, and he got phenomenal hands. And he just does a great job of being able to use his long stride to be deceptive enough to be able to pull away from people. You don't think he's as fast as he is, and then the next thing you know, you struggling with all your might to try to catch up.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, he's a freak, man. It's crazy.
He is.
Crazy. Dan Wilcox is with us here on GCR Believe Podcast, talking some Ravens. Dan, you brought up something about the Bengals that, I know there's a lot of people today that are like, oh, they're out there celebrating beating a C-level roster. But the point that you made, I think, is whoever they were playing against the Ravens on Sunday, we know the Bengals are going to be a threat for a while in this division. And this sets up that this could be a decade that's a really fun back and forth between these two teams because that quarterback, Joe Burrow, is good. Like, he's just flat good. And I don't know if they can keep all 3 receivers around him for the entire time. I don't know if they can keep all of Boyd and Higgins and Chase, but Higgins and Chase in particular, they look special, man. Like, whoever they did it against on Sunday, whatever, just on paper and knowing what they did earlier in the season, it's pretty obvious they're going to be a problem for the Ravens for a long time to come.
I mean, absolutely. That's the biggest issue with this league, right? Is salary cap. You can't afford to keep everybody, and everybody wants their payday. Everybody knows this, they don't get a chance to play this game forever. They got a very small window to be able to make as much money as they possibly can. And it's hard to talk somebody out of making $50 million, and only taking $10 million. Like, why would you do that? Why would you even want to put somebody's family in that situation, right? But it's going to be hard to keep those 3 guys, but as long as they got them on the field together in the same contract, man, they're going to be a hard team to beat, and they're going to only continue to get better. They're going to continue to get better as the confidence builds. And that's what it really comes down to in this league anyway. Everything is a confidence situation. If you really, really, really have your confidence at an all-time high, you're an elite player in this league. And the problem is when you got guys that had never played before, like the Ravens are starting all these guys that nobody never really heard of. When you got guys like that, a lot of times they've been on a practice squad or they've been just practice guys, and they haven't really had a chance to make a real name for themselves in this league, and their confidence level isn't where it should be. Even though they are elite players and they're elite athletes, they got the ability to go out here and make plays. Confidence sets you apart from everything. It's like talking to the cute girl at the bar. All of us could talk to her, but only one or two of us may have the confidence to approach her. And the ones that approach her, one of them may actually get her phone number and be able to date her later. But the ones that don't, they never ever get a chance. They never ever take the shot, and they always seem to lose. So the more these guys build their confidence up, the more they go out here and play, and the more they know that they can be a part of this league and they can make plays in this league, they will get better. And eventually, some of these guys that the Ravens are playing right now are going to be big-time players as well in this league.
Dan, we saw what Joe Burrow did to the Ravens secondary on Sunday. 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. It was video game numbers. He was still throwing the ball down the field, up 20 late in the fourth quarter. Is that something that you played in the NFL a number of years? Is that something that a team remembers going into the next year? You got to play the Bengals again twice next year. Is that something they remember and they're like, hey, we remember you did this and we got something for you?
Absolutely. You never forget that. You know what I'm saying? The bad thing about it is they beat us early in the year, and when they beat us early in the year, we still had a lot of our good guys on the field, our best guys. And then they come and do the exact same thing to your backups. The worst part about the whole situation, because it is a sensitive league. It's a sensitive sport. It's an ego sport. It's you did something to me, I'm gonna do it better to you when I get my opportunity to do it better to you. But the Ravens don't beat up on the Bengals plenty of times before. It's no big deal. You can't be mad at the coach for allowing his player to be great. Joe Burrow got a chance to break a record that's been set, a long time ago. He's talking about Warren Moon is in the picture and this stuff. Man, I'm looking at this. I'm like, what? Warren Moon? I ain't heard Warren Moon in so long. So for him to be able to tie a record that Warren Moon did, you got to give your guy that opportunity if you're a head coach. I've always told myself if I was a head coach, I'm not going to hold my players back. And this was an opportunity for the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals not to hold one of his players back, allow one of his players to be great, and to go chase a record that he had an opportunity to chase. No matter who was on the field, it was still an NFL team, playing against another NFL team. And that's all that's going to be shown in the stats. It was against the Baltimore Ravens. He put up 525 yards passing. When you look at this thing 10, 20 years from now, nobody's going to know that the Ravens were COVID ridiculed and freaking all the players were hurt. At the end of the day, it was the Baltimore Ravens versus the Cincinnati Bengals. He got a chance to put up 525 passing yards, and he did just that. And it could have been worse than that. It could have been even more. He could have put up even more. I'm not mad at the decision. At the same time, it's a gutsy call. I appreciate the coach giving this player an opportunity to be great. I also understand that he put his player at jeopardy as well because it is the Baltimore Ravens. Hell, these guys do get paid the same way, and these guys have egos and stuff too. They could have easily, really hurt Joe Burrow at the end of that game. So you got to be smart too at the same time by the coach. So.
He is Dan Wilcox. Of course, he and our buddy Bo Smolka on the Believe Podcast Network every week talking Ravens. You can follow him on Twitter at Coach Wilcox. And you want to tell everybody about your business, what it is that you do, bro?
Well, right now I'm in Atlanta and I'm designing and building houses. So I have a company called Wilcox Custom Homes, and we're doing everything we can to just try to change people's lives. We want to give people a better way of living and a better opportunity. So, the ultimate goal is to be able to build houses for families and stuff, and put them into a Wilcox Custom Home and change their lives forever.
I love that. I love that, man. That's tremendous. Dan Wilcox, my friend, it's always great to check in with you, bro. Again, Happy New Year. Hope you and your family are safe and healthy. I know it's a tough time for everybody, but best to you as always, sir. And let's catch up again real soon, all right?
No doubt. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Dan Wilcox, former Ravens tight end. Love that dude. One of my favorite people. Always has been. Hey, Stan the Fan's taking the week off. Well-deserved break from his regular shows. They will be back next week, starting on Monday. He and Ross Grims will be back talking some baseball with you every Monday night in 2022. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, PressBoxOnline.com/video the next day if you miss it. Kyle Andrews is here. I want to talk more about that because we didn't do any Ravens talk yesterday. We did the Drunken Show. I talked about it with Rita on the postgame show, but it still somehow lingered as a discussion point through yesterday, in part because it seems like, frankly, the media is trying to make it a thing. So we're going to talk about that, what happened at the end of the game when we come back in. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
The latest issue of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special annual Best Of issue. On the cover, we celebrate Justin Tucker as our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, honoring his historic on-field achievements, but also the unprecedented relationship he shared with Baltimore. Inside, we recognize the top people, performances, and moments of 2021, including Cedric Mullins' incredible season and the dominance of local Paralympic athletes. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Glory Days Grill's winter seasonal menu is back with comfort classics like their house-made meatloaf and short rib grilled cheese. It also features the center-cut sirloin with grilled shrimp, the char-grilled pork tenderloin, grilled meatloaf sandwich, smoky thigh wings with Alabama barbecue sauce, and a Brussels and bacon appetizer. All of these items pair well with Devil's Backbone 8-Point IPA or their anniversary IPA brewed by Devil's Backbone. And try their seasonal cocktails, Blood Orange Bourbon Cider, Apple Ginger Mule, and Captain's Hot Cider. Find out more and get your order in today at glorydaysgrill.com. Great food, good sports.
Window Depot Baltimore provides the highest quality Pro Via windows, doors, and siding for all budgets. The best is finally affordable. Call them today for a free in-home consultation at 410-941-3499. They also offer Zoom and FaceTime consultations in an effort to practice social distancing. A proud sponsor of the Tyus Bowser Show, you can find out more at WindowDepotBaltimore.com.
I've driven my tractor trailer millions of miles, and I've seen it all. The next time you change lanes when driving, remember, because of the sheer weight and size of my truck, I'm not able to stop quickly if you cut me off and brake suddenly. One wrong decision could change our lives forever. Trucks need room to stop. Don't cut it close.
Brought to you by the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration.
Looking for a simple holiday meal? Try Chick-fil-A Catering. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
We can't imagine why you'd want to, but you can watch GCR live. It's at facebook.com/PressBoxSports and try to guess whether these guys are wearing any pants.
The final Pressbox Fantasy Football show of the season is coming up this Thursday morning. We will be with you at 11:30 a.m. KZ. We'll set your lineups for championship week. I will not be participating in any championship matchups myself. It's what it is. Alvin Kamara came up just short of the 50 points that I needed from him last night. Just short. I think he finished with, 5? So, yeah, just shy of that number.
I got less than 4 points from Rob Gronkowski and James Robinson, so I'm on the outside looking in.
The James Robinson really killed me. I mean, Alvin Kamara killed me as well. My God, what an abomination that was. By the way, the fantasy show is brought to you by CCBC Glory Days Grill and also our friends at the Maryland Department of Transportation. We've been doing it all season long. Final show of the year this Thursday morning at 11:30 a.m. Kyle Andrews is here in studio with us. I saw some voices last night. Peter King was among them. There were more voices that spoke up about it's wrong for the NFL to put this type of product on the field. Mm-hmm. Obviously, and I get it, like the offensive line was as much a problem as Ian Book was, but like Ian Book clearly is not an NFL quarterback in any way. And there is no real solution for what you do about it, right? Short of pausing the season, and it's pretty clear they don't want to move the Super Bowl. Like, they have, unlike a year ago where I didn't understand why they didn't want to move the Super Bowl, I'm like, you can only have like 10,000 people in there anyway. Like, just move the Super Bowl a week back if you need to. This year, it appears like they are hell-bent. We got a full stadium. It's on. Like, we're doing a Super Bowl. Now, I think a lot of the not a lot. I think there will be some activities around the Super Bowl that will be canceled. I've said all along, I don't think there's a chance in hell there's going to be a Pro Bowl this year. It's almost a joke to me that they're still talking about it. But I'm flummoxed by what you do while I understand the point. Watching certain games, this is not – it's XFL. It's the stuff that we don't want. We have made it very clear in America. There is this belief that we love football so much we'll always watch football. We've made it abundantly clear every time you try a secondary football league, that's not true. We will not watch the – some people will, but not in droves. Not enough to sustain – God bless Dwayne Johnson. I wish him well. I love the man. But – the XFL is not going to work. The AAF is never going to work to actually be a moneymaker. It can exist for the sake of existing, like if you want to lose money on it or never actually make any money. But secondary football leagues will never be sustainable in America. We've got way too much of a track record here. We know. We like one thing in this country, the NFL and college football. That's what we like. We don't like anything else. And frankly, college football is our secondary league, right? Like it's where you go to watch the guys that are going to be in the NFL at some point. So there is a problem. Like that last night was painful to watch. I don't know how anybody in Miami, I guess you feel good today because Miami has been playing well otherwise, but like Miami didn't play well last night. They just happened to be facing a D-League roster, like they happened to get away with it. I don't know what you do to solve the problem. I don't know that there's an answer to it. The answer, unfortunately, is probably canceling games when you get to a certain number of players that are out, but nobody wants to do that because nobody gets paid.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is well taken, right? Like, I get it. That was a chore to watch that football game last night. It was painful. It's painful to look at the secondary the Ravens are putting on the field, right? Like, it's painful. But I don't know that there's an alternative. I really don't, other than to just say the NFL, look, man, we want to play the games. We're not postponing anything else because we don't have any time to play it and still play the Super Bowl the weekend that we want to play the Super Bowl. And we're in this weird place where the world isn't shutting down outside of the NFL, so they can't say to all these businesses, well, you got to change your plans too. Like, everybody, for the most part, is kind of taking a business-as-usual approach, despite the fact that we know it ain't business as usual. But it's bad. It's so – and I get it. Some teams are just bad because they're bad. Like the Jaguars. Last night, that game probably reminded a lot of Jaguars fans of watching September football for a lot of years, right? Detroit Lions fans are like, yeah, we know all about that. We don't feel bad for the New Orleans Saints. We don't feel bad for anybody else. These aren't NFL players. These are guys that shouldn't be doing this. It's like watching it's the replacements. Yeah. Shane Falco is going to come streaming out of the tunnel at some point. Like, it's that bad. These guys can't do it. And it reminds you of how good you got to be in order to play in this league. Like, you got to be a special kind of good in order to be in the National Football League.
Well, and that's why, like, we were talking during the break about my dad getting so upset about the Ravens. And you have to go into these games when half your team is on IR and the other half your team is in COVID protocols. You have to go into these games like any good football we get is a bonus because otherwise it's an exercise in futility. And that's why I get so mad at him because what are you expecting? These guys would not be in the league. They might not be on the practice squad.
Yep.
If there's no injuries and no COVID.
I mean, Daryl Worley technically has been – he's not – weird. He's actually technically a professional football player.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't be. He's terrible. My God, he's bad. It might be a nice guy. I'm not trying to take shots at Daryl Worley. Holy crap, he can't play. But he actually has more of a track record than some of the other guys that they've put out there to play football. It's so bad. It's so bad. I've heard people say that this is why the NFL this is an argument that came up, that this is why the NFL should be running a concurrent G League type of concept, that the NFL should try to partner with the XFL, run the XFL at the same time, so that in season there are guys playing football that if you need somebody, if you end up in by the way, before COVID, the Ravens were already in an extreme injury situation, particularly in the secondary, that if you find yourself in this place, you can call someone who is currently playing professional football somewhere, that you're not just picking somebody up off the street, that you're not like that there is a league somewhere where guys are playing. Some of them might be playing quite well, and you can go get one of those players.
Makes sense.
It makes some sense.
They should do it just for the sole fact that offensive line play. I mean, this is one thing that I think people need to understand is that during the off season, for instance, I mean, you only have so many OTAs. They've cut down on how much hitting guys can do during camp and everything, and throughout the season. And as an offensive lineman, you need that. You need those actual in-game reps. So I'm like, okay, well, the offensive line play I think has been the most egregious that it's been in years, and that's saying something because it's gotten progressively worse each season. But this season has just been because none of the starters are there.
Right.
You have a lot of COVID going on. You have injuries, of course. I mean.
Well, that was an abomination. The Saints' offensive line was obviously an abomination last night.
And they need. I think if you have a league running concurrently, you get those replacement offensive linemen.
They get
some reps.
The issue that I have, like
help.
the competition they're going up against, is other guys that aren't NFL players. I don't really know that you're finding someone in that league that can come in and help you. Do I think
it'll make them better? I think reps make you ultimately better.
Probably, but like most of these teams are going to sign a guy off their own practice squad before they're going to sign a guy from that league too.
Well,
you know what I
What
mean?
if the guys on their practice squad, like an NBA G League situation where some of the guys are on your team,
if you're not going to play, you send them to play in a it's an interest. I don't know what the teams would say about that. I don't know if you're Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh, I don't know if you think it's more valuable those guys are in your building practicing with your guys every day versus being somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what their response to that would be. And maybe it's you pick whichever guys are not going to be active on a Sunday, you choose that and you send them to participate in the game somewhere, but that's a tough thing to do. I don't know. I just don't know what the answer is to that question. And obviously it's a pandemic, man. Like, it's hopefully these won't be problems 2 years from now. Hopefully there won't be problems next year. Not this extreme, obviously. Hopefully that won't be the case. As far as the Bengals thing, and I addressed this on Sunday's show, on the postgame show, and I'll address it again because people were still, like, somebody was going at, they were asking John Harbaugh about it yesterday, trying to make him the media is, of course, and look, man, I'm not trying. This is not all media. I want to make that very clear. There are people that do their jobs quite well, but we can't lie about certain things. If it was really good business for us in Baltimore when there was a fight between John Harbaugh and Vic Fangio a couple weeks ago, it created a lot more interest, a lot more page views, a lot more clicks. It made our job easier because there was a topic to discuss instead of having to talk about a lopsided football game. If there could be a fight between John Harbaugh and Zach Taylor, that would be good for business. There clearly isn't. No matter how bad Mike Florio tried to make it that way, and Mike Florio's got a litany of issues like that. I don't dislike Mike Florio. We got along. I used to do some work with Mike Florio years ago. But Mike Florio comes from this background. He comes from the page view background. He doesn't come from a journalist background. We've treated him as a journalist, but he comes from the background of, I need to get page views. That's how he started in this business. This guy started a website. Page views were his thing. I, too, kind of thought that John Harbaugh was going to end up saying something dumb on Sunday about Zach Taylor throwing the ball at the end of the game, and I was prepared to say if he does, I'll call him out for that because you did the stupid thing against the Broncos that you did. But he didn't. That didn't happen. It didn't occur. Whether privately John Harbaugh really is mad about it and just saying all the right things, I don't care because it's not my concern. He said all the right things. What they're concerned about is what they're concerned about. We don't call their plays. They call their own plays, right? Like, I had a good conversation with Zach Taylor. I respect Zach Taylor. He said all the right things. Zach Taylor was asked about it yesterday. Zach Taylor was very quick. He said, was there any sort of issue between you and John Harbaugh? Zach Taylor said one word, no. And that was the end of it. It's over. There's nothing there. And there wasn't anything there. And I know that we wanted there to be something there because it's good for business if there's something there. It's good for us to have a fight because then we can all talk about it and write about it and pick sides and, yell and scream about it, but there's nothing there. On Sunday, I said this. If I cared about the Bengals, if I did radio in Cincinnati, if I was a Bengals fan, I'd be mad at my team. I wouldn't be furious, but I would say, I don't like this. In the same way that after the Broncos thing, I came in and I wrote a column and said, it's not that big of a deal, but I can't justify what the Ravens did at the end of that game. That's not a real record. When the Ravens were chasing this 100-yard thing, I was actually honestly happy that it ended the week after that. Because it mattered so much that literally when we called Rocky Blyer to ask him about it, he didn't know that they had the record. Because no one has ever treated 100 yards rushing as a team like it's a thing.
I listened to that show, too, when you guys called him, and it was just like, who cares? Right?
It's never been a thing.
It's not I mean, that one was, that record is stupid, in my opinion. But if it's an individual record,
if Joe Burrow if he really had a chance to break the single game record, I would find it more justifiable to say, and that's sort of what I wrote in the column when I wrote about the rushing thing. The juice better be worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Jamal Lewis, when he was going for the single season, remember the Ravens clinched earlier in the day, that day, because somebody lost. So they had already clinched. This is 2003 that we're talking about. They'd already clinched their playoff spot. They were playing the Steelers in a night game on Sunday night. But whoever it was that lost, I don't remember if it was the Titans or somebody lost during the day, and the Ravens had already clinched. This was before the NFL changed the last Sunday night game of the season, so that it had to be that it wasn't affected by another game. They had already clinched before they took the field on Sunday night. But Brian Billick had said all week, don't care what happens on Sunday. We're going to play our guys because I can't have them ramp up for a game as if it matters all week and then get to the game and say, yeah, but sorry, all that work you did, throw it out. We're not playing you. And there was a debate about that. What we all knew was Jamal Lewis had a chance to go for a record that he had a real chance of breaking Eric Dickerson's single-season rushing record. And as you remember, ESPN had a camera on Eric Dickerson that night watching the game as they were doing the Sunday night broadcast, and Jamal Lewis fell short. He didn't break the record that night. But that was a record that was worth going for. That's a single-season rushing record. And it wouldn't have lasted, obviously, for very long. But at the time, it was a bit. Everybody knew who owned the single-season rushing record. It was a real thing. When Jamal Lewis broke the single-game rushing record, it was a big effing deal. Because that was a real record. And if Joe Burrow had been going for a single-game passing record, and if I was in Cincinnati, I would say, okay, that's a real thing. But he wasn't going to break that record. The record's something like 570 yards, if I remember correctly.
It was,
Norm Van Brocklin, right? And the number's like 574, right? It was something along those lines.
Something insane like that.
And even with that huge pass, he got to 525. There weren't still 50 yards on the field on that drive for him to get 50 more yards to break the single-game passing record.
Had they been able to get that, that drive, had they been able to complete that previous drive right before the Ravens got the ball back, I think.
Yeah, he might have, right.
He might have had a better chance.
He might have. But at the point at which they got
still
there.
half a field, too. He would have had to throw a 50-yard bomb.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The point being, he wasn't going to get to that. Now, their argument is, well, he got over 500, and that's a big deal. Getting over 500 passing yards, not a lot of people have done that. Okay, but it ain't worth somebody getting hurt. This is where Bill Belichick would never do that.
It made no sense. You're watching him, and this is a guy who's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
You've got the game in hand. There's really no point except for personal glory, and he's standing out there, and he's just coming back off a season where the offensive line was so bad that he got sacked and tore every ligament he had.
Their offensive line has been better, but still, yes, you're right. He still gets sacked a lot. And yeah, there's no. If I was in Cincinnati, I'd be pissed about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be not pissed. Piss is the wrong thing to say. I would say this is unjustifiable. It's unjustifiable to still have that dude out there at that point in the game throwing the football around. Like, it's a risk. If there's a 1% risk, it's a risk that's not worth taking.
It's honestly the most asinine, asset-10, asset-11 thing that you could possibly do is to put your, just injured quarterback.
Your franchise is the guy that is your success is based on this person and this person alone.
Exactly. I mean, Joe Burrow is everything that, people expected him to be out of college. They expected him to be box office. This kid, he's box office. He's
100%.
Great talent, and you don't want him to get hurt. I don't care if he goes out there and tells you, I want to go for this. Nope.
Nope.
I'm
Nope.
not.
Sorry, kid.
Maybe that just might be Zach Taylor being a younger coach too.
Well, and a lot of people say, hey, if it matters to the players, you should do it to show them support, right?
Yeah.
Like, I hear you, but you also discretion has to be the better part of valor at some point. At some
I
point,
don't think Mike Tomlin's doing that.
you got to step in and say, look, man, it ain't worth it. It's not. We can do the math on this. We gain nothing, but we could lose a lot. We ain't doing it. We're just not doing it. This isn't 500 yards. A 500-yard passing day is not. It's not going to change your life so much that it's worth us taking any sort of risk. That being said, I don't do radio in Cincinnati. I do radio in Baltimore, and in Baltimore, I don't give a rat's ass. I don't know why anyone in Baltimore would care that Joe Burrow was throwing the ball at the end of the game. It affects you in zero ways.
I don't think anybody does really care, right?
No, there are people that are. No, trust me, there are plenty of people. This is Bush League. This is low rent. You heard Dan Wilcox. We're gonna remember it as a player. And look, that's different.
Yeah, if
players.
you're a player, I get it.
Players find any. They try to use anything at all they can in order to get a chip on their
Michael
shoulder.
Jordan made up stuff. I mean,
Facts.
you have to.
And and Joe Burrow was trying to use Wink Martindale's comments, which were not that big of a deal, and like that was what fueled me. Players will always be that. They will always use anything to try to motivate themselves. So that part I don't care about.
So you're saying Macaulay Culkin got a little bit upset?
Who?
I mean, Joe Burrow. He looks.
Oh, because he looks. All right, not bad. All right, not bad. My bad. My bad. That's not bad. No, look, man. I just don't. In Baltimore, who gives a rat's ass? Who cares? Why would you be offended by that? Yes, Jeff, it's big boy football. You can do what you want. He's just lucky he didn't get hurt throwing for. That's the Cincinnati side of things. That's why I wouldn't like it in Cincinnati. But in Baltimore, I don't give an S, and I don't know why anyone would. Why would you care what another team is doing at the end of the game? Go play football. That's what you're paid to do. Go play football. Either stop them or don't. That's what your job is. And I get it. These aren't really football players. I know, but they were the ones that were getting paid on Sunday.
I cared in the moment.
Why?
Because you're already getting your teeth kicked in. It's just adding insult to injury. I don't care now. In the moment when you're in the heat of it, you're watching, you're like, what the hell are they doing? And that was the extent of me caring, going, what the hell are they doing? That was my caring.
Right.
You know what I mean?
As long as you understand that there's no reason. Like, there is no reason for you to care what another team is doing.
Like when I gave my dad crap for being so upset, I'm like, this is what was going to happen. The Bengals are way healthier.
Right. There is no reason for anyone in Baltimore to care that the Bengals were throwing the football at the end of the game. And I don't get the sense that it's a lot, but there are, trust me, I've heard from them. There are people that exist, and we're going to remember that. You don't play for the team, bro. Like, you're not on the team.
Issue. That's literally my biggest issue is that so many people who have never, like a lot of these people, and no offense to people who have never played like football in their lives, because some people know just as much about the game as a person that would play football, but for God's sake, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Settle down.
It is not that. It's a game.
Right.
You don't play for the team. You are not involved in the game whatsoever.
If Patrick Queen wants to be pissed off about it to try to, get him fired up for the, and I'm just picking a name. If he wants to be pissed off about it to try to fire him up for the next time, maybe they play in the postseason, right? Like, it's possible they could end up matching up in the postseason. God bless, right? Go allow yourself to be fired up by whatever you want to fire up about. But if you're Steve Stevenson sitting in Pikesville today and you're mad about, get a hold of your life. Like, who cares? I keep saying that, seek help. This isn't something that you should have any concern about whatsoever. Again, if it's your own team and it could impact, I have no problem with you saying I don't like my own team doing it. I didn't like it when the Ravens ran the ball at the end of the game against the Broncos because they were risking injury to gain nothing. I didn't like it. I know it's not that big of a deal, and I said that then. It's not somebody should be fired over it or something like that. It was unjustifiable, and I have no problem saying that about my own team. But another team, who cares?
Oh, in 2019, when the Ravens were blowing everybody's doors off, and Lamar sat out like a full game's worth of quarters because they were up so big, they would still have him in the game at the beginning of the fourth quarter up by 25 points.
Right.
And I'd be sitting there like, why is he on the field? Like,
and at some point you have to respect the fact that it's the NFL, and like, and I would always have to have these conversations. Like, we want to live in a world where you can just take your players out in the third quarter, as if it's not the NFL where teams can score a lot of points in a short amount of time. We all know it's not. It's the thing that people were trying to do after the Broncos game, where John Harbaugh, and this was where John Harbaugh was way off base. Him trying to compare Vic Fangio throwing the ball down 16 points to what they did was nonsense. You're not supposed to give up. it was extraordinarily unlikely that the Broncos were going to score a touchdown, get the 2-point conversion, convert the onside kick, throw a Hail Mary, and get another 2-point conversion. But they still had to try.
Right.
They weren't doing anything in garbage time. They were still trying to win. You were not. You were doing something else. Vic Fangio was way out of line. I want to make that very clear. Vic Fangio was way out of line. I mean, it was absurd. It was ridiculous. Worrying about what the other team is doing, get out of here. Your team is what you worry about. You worry about your team and what they're doing. And because of that, I didn't like what the Ravens did. But all that being said, we all want to believe that you can pull your quarterback in the third quarter of a football game because you're up by a bunch of points. You can't do that because it's the NFL. And goofy things can happen. And suddenly a team can get a luck sack bouncing ball that turns into a 75-yard touchdown, and they can convert an onside kick if they want to go for an onside kick. And all of a sudden a game that's a 28-point game could be a 2-score game, and there's still an entire quarter to play. You can't just give up. Like, trying to compare it to the Ravens playing Lamar Jackson. Now, there is a point at which, undoubtedly, mathematically, quarterbacks don't need to be in games any longer. Like, when you get to the point where there's like 4 minutes left and you're up by 4 scores, you don't need to have your quarterback in the game any longer. But you can't pull a quarterback at the beginning of the fourth quarter just because you want it to be. The other team hasn't agreed to give up 2. Now, you can work something out. Like, you call, hey, you guys agree to give up for the next, you'll just tie in the, okay, cool. If you can work that out, God bless. But it doesn't work that way in the NFL. The other team's going to keep trying. So you have to leave the guys in to make sure that the game is over. We operate because something is unlikely. That means it's impossible. And it's not. It's not impossible. We all know that because we watch crazy things happen in football games sometimes.
Miracle at the Meadowlands.
100%. Those things happen. Unexpected things occur in football games. Like, it does. There was a game like a high school game in Arizona this year where a team was down by 17 with a minute to play and won the football game. Now, it's a high school game. I get it. Like, I'm not trying to compare the high school to the NFL, but the point is these things, onside kicks can occur. The Ravens converted an onside kick 2 weeks ago and had a chance to steal a football game because of it. Like, it's the NFL. You can do it. So you have to recognize that. Joe Burrow bitching, the Ravens do this all the time. What does that even mean? Like, why are you worried about the other team? Let them do what they're going to do. You go do what you're going to do. Worry about you. I know one of the Ravens employees was getting after Joe Burrow because of it. Who was it? Ryan Mink, I think, was mad about what Joe Burrow said. Joe Burrow said, let me pull this up real quick. Joe Burrow said, this is the NFL. This isn't Pee Wee. This isn't high school where you go out and run up the score. You play until the final whistle. They did it to us last year. No sympathy from me. And Ryan Mink's point was actually the Ravens didn't do the same thing last year in their 38-3 win in Week 17 in Cincy. Baltimore led 17-3 at the half. On the next 3 touchdown drives, the Ravens had 13 runs to 4 passes. Then the Ravens yanked Lamar and put in Huntley for the entire fourth quarter just to be accurate. Great. Well, I don't really care about it on either side of things, right? I don't really care about it either way. But if you're Joe Burrow, man, like, you don't have to defend yourself. You don't. If you're okay with it, if you're okay with the risk of you getting hurt, just say that. The first part of that stands. This is the NFL. These guys are getting paid. There are paychecks coming in. These guys won't be getting a lot of them. The guys that play for the Ravens won't be getting a lot of paychecks. This will be the end. They'll get another couple weeks worth of paychecks, and then there probably will never be another paycheck coming their way in the National Football League. But they are getting paid for what they're going through on Sunday. They're going to get a check for, and Darryl Worley was making his business decisions as the game went on. He was like, I could go try to tackle this guy, but I could also just not do that and stand 4 yards off of him and hope that he runs out of bounds. That's something I could choose to do, too.
I mean, if Rudy was a movie,
man, Jesus.
I mean, these guys should get, some book deal or something.
Right,
and,
that's right.
Just parlay that into a book deal.
They get to tell everybody, I got to play in the NFL. We were talking about that last week with the NBA.
It'll be a comedy, though.
There are guys that are going to get to say they were NBA players right now that have no business ever saying that they were NBA players. That's
why I wish I was maybe about 4 inches taller. Maybe I could have,
This is a guy who's 6'7" who's complaining that he's not tall enough.
I'm 5'7".
Right.
I wish I was 4 inches taller.
Look,
you don't get to do that.
If I was 4 inches taller, maybe I'd be, I'd fill the PJ Tucker role a little bit. Play defense and occasionally shoot threes and block shots.
All right. Hey, if you haven't picked up the best of press issue of Press Box yet, it's available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. or read it all at PressBoxOnline.com/best-of, including our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Justin Tucker, on the cover. We'll come back in, get a tidbit tubular to wrap it up. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Hey, it's Glenn Clark for Window Nation. Cold weather has arrived, and that means one thing: higher energy bills. But the good news is that Window Nation is here to help. For a limited time, get 50% off all style windows, bays, bows, double hung, and sliders, plus a house of windows for only $99 a month. Rising natural gas prices are affecting everyone, but new Window Nation windows can help. Get 50% off any style window and a house of windows for only $99 a month. Call Window Nation today at 866-90NATION or go online at windownation.com. That's December only. Tell them Glenn Clark sent you.
From all of the biggest games to the smallest events, make every bet worth your while at MyBookie. Start by doubling your first deposit instantly with MyBookie's first deposit bonus up to $1,000. Double your money before you even place a bet, and all you have to do is sign up and deposit using the exclusive promo code PRESSBOX at mybookie.ag. If your first deposit is $100, MyBookie adds $100 so you can start with $200 to play with. If your first deposit is $1,000, MyBookie adds $1,000 so you can start with $2,000 to play with. With tons of great games and prop bets to take advantage of this week, there is truly something for everyone. Don't wait any longer. Head to MyBookie today to redeem your double deposit bonus so you can start winning big today. That's promo code PRESSBOX to receive double your first deposit instantly in your account. No hassle, no wait. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Duffy's Garage is a family-owned and operated car care facility in beautiful Baldwin, Maryland. An authorized Maryland inspection station and Napa Pro Care Center with ASE-certified techs. Tell them that Glenn Clark sent you and receive 10% off your service with a max discount of $150. You gotta trust where you take your car, so take it to where I take mine. Duffy's Garage in Baldwin. Duffy'sGarageMD.com.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, winding down for a Tuesday edition of the program. Don't forget, we will have another Project Game Day this Sunday. KZ will be with me. Obviously, it's an earlier time as the game was moved to 1 o'clock. Who knows? Maybe that helps the Ravens. Who knows? But he'll be with me for the final – no, not the final Project Game Day. I keep forgetting there's an 18-week season this year. The penultimate Project Game Day of the regular season. It's all brought to you all season long by Window Nation, Glory Days Grill, and Underdog Fantasy Football. We'll see you for Project Game Day this coming Sunday. Tidbit brought to you today by Window Nation. It's cold. It's what it is. That means energy bills going up. There's help, though. Window Nation wants to help you, but you only have 3 more days to try to take advantage of this offer. 50% off all style of windows and a house of windows for only $99 a month. Give them a call today, 866-90NATION, or visit windownation.com. What you got?
All right. On Sunday, after not playing in a game since Week 6, overall garbage human being Antonio Brown recorded 10 receptions for 101 yards in Tampa Bay's 31-6 victory over the Carolina Panthers. It marked the 23rd game in which Brown has recorded at least 10 receptions, breaking a tie with Andre Johnson for the most in NFL history. In addition to Brown and Johnson, 10 other players have at least 15 games with 10-plus receptions. Who are they?
Say that one more time.
So 10 other players in the history of the NFL, in addition to Brown and Johnson, have at least 15 games with 10-plus receptions. Who are they?
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, 17.
You can get in. You don't have to wait for me.
Michael Irving?
No.
Yeah, he's not. He wasn't a bulk catch guy.
That's true.
That's why I don't think it's this person either. Art Monk.
No.
It's a little surprising to me.
All these guys are fairly recent players. Fairly recent.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald, 17.
Is it all wide receivers or can it include tight ends?
It's all wide receivers.
Okay.
Well, no. I'm sorry. There is one tight end in here.
Tony Gonzalez.
Tony
That's
Gonzalez.
What I was going to guess, you son of a bitch.
Tony
Stole it
Gonzalez,
right
15.
off my tongue.
15.
I was literally about to say Tony Gonzalez.
I almost said something crazy, but I stopped myself before I said it.
What?
No, I'm not going to say it.
Oh, I want to know now.
No, it's ridiculous.
So say it.
I'm not saying
Steve
it.
Smith.
No.
Chris Carter.
No.
Randy Moss.
No. Believe it or not.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
he's
bulk
a
as much as
guy, yeah.
Tim Brown.
No.
That's surprising.
That would,
to me.
that surprises me too. Doug Baldwin.
No. There's one guy on this list.
Andre Johnson.
Andre Johnson, we already said. He was the guy who had 23. He's.
So you're doing the Kyle bit.
I told you at the beginning, other than Brown and Johnson.
All right. Other than Brown and Johnson. Yeah, okay. You're right. All right. Heinz Ward.
No.
Isaac Bruce.
No.
Torrey Holt.
No.
Reggie Wayne.
Reggie Wayne, 15.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison, 16.
A lot of opportunities. They threw the ball a lot.
Anquan Bolden.
No.
Okay, because I thought maybe earlier on
Yeah.
in his career. Not with the Ravens, though.
T.O.
No.
Huh.
Andre Reed.
No. Do you guys want to hint?
No! Wes Welker.
Wes Welker, 18.
That makes sense.
There were a lot of games where we were just throwing the ball to Wes Welker every.
Yeah, two-yard passes.
All right, how many do we
have 4 left.
Jesus. And you say they're all more modern.
3 of them are technically still active.
3 of them are
active.
technically still
So I'll
active.
go for the one that isn't active. Donald Driver.
No.
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones, 19.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense. Was he the technically or?
There's another guy that's technically still active.
Technically
but he hasn't
still
played.
active. Technically still active, but he hasn't played. I don't know. It could be Keenan Allen.
No.
They throw the ball to him a lot, though. It wouldn't have surprised me. He's still active, but hasn't played. Still active, but hasn't played.
DeAndre Hopkins.
No.
No, he's.
Well,
he's. I mean, really. I mean, he only got hurt 2 games ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Technically active, but
AJ Green.
No. He's played most of the
he's
year.
still playing. He's still playing to this moment. Who is? What am I? Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas, 18.
I mean, he's very much active.
Yeah, but he hasn't played at all this year.
Yeah, I understand.
And he didn't
but
play
still.
most of last year.
And one more that's active.
One more that's active.
Odell.
No.
Tyreek.
No.
Steph.
Nope.
Devontae
Adams, 18. And then you have one more, and this was the one guy I thought you guys had no shot to get.
No shot to get him. So it's Mishin Muhammad.
No.
That's who I was going to
Was
say.
it really?
Yeah,
that's pretty
that's
funny.
exactly
We're
who
both
I
sitting here thinking about Mishin Muhammad. Jimmy Smith.
No.
Keenan McCardle.
No.
Derek Mason.
No.
I like that guess, too.
I'm trying to think of Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall.
Really? How about that?
19.
How about that? There you go. I killed it. You sucked. Way to go, Kyle. Thanks for not helping at all. I
think if you guess every receiver in the history of the league,
settle down.
on.
Settle down. I totally didn't guess Mark Clayton once, so settle down over there, Chief.
Fair enough.
Tidbit
Did he
was
have 10 catches whole
Travis
stop.
Taylor, too.
Yeah, right. Tidbit was brought to you by Mobile One. Mobile One full synthetic motor oil helps extend engine life. Visit your local Jiffy Lube service center. Ask for Mobile One. Tubular is brought to you by your Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants. What'd you get? Did you get some minis this morning? Did you get some minis and some hash browns? God, I love Chick-fil-A chicken minis. From Chick-fil-A nuggets to mac and cheese, enjoy a variety of tray options sized perfectly for your get-together. Order through the Chick-fil-A app and bring smiles to your family gathering. Availability and order requirements vary. See restaurant for details. So, lots of bowl games today that weren't canceled. Like, this is the only day where there's 5 bowl games, and none of them to this point have been canceled. Birmingham Bowl, Houston-Auburn right now on ESPN, and the First Responder Bowl at 3:15. You never miss that. That's Air Force in Louisville. The Liberty Bowl at 6:45, Mississippi State and Texas Tech, and the Guaranteed Rate Bowl at 10:15 between West Virginia and Minnesota. On Fox tonight, the Holiday Bowl between UCLA and NC State at 8. They're playing that at the baseball stadium in San Diego because there's no football stadium in San Diego right now. So they're playing that one at the
Qualcomm was getting.
Yeah, they blew it up because they're building a
San Diego State
right.
Stadium, yeah.
And I guess that's where they're going to play the Holiday Bowl, but it's only like a 35,000 seat stadium.
Well, they said they may expand it too eventually
if they could get the NFL back somehow.
Well, either that or San Diego State possibly
move to a big league.
Yeah, to like the Pac-12 or
it's
something.
Interesting. As we mentioned earlier, hoops tonight, Maryland and Lehigh on the Big Ten Network at 8:30. Wizards Heat 7:30 on NBC Sports Washington and NBA TV. NBA TV also has Nuggets Warriors at 10. ESPN Plus and Hulu for Canadiens Lightning at 7 o'clock. Coyotes Sharks at 10:30. Hell yeah, we suck so much right now. And there's soccer all day on NBCSN. It's like this week. There's a lot of soccer matches right now. Getting ready for Leeds United and Aston Villa and then Leicester City and Liverpool at 2:55. The USA Network for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
It's very slim pickings
it's
tonight.
holiday week. A lot of like best ofs for the year this week.
Yeah,
that's the type of programming they do.
On MTV, you have 2 new episodes of Ridiculousness at 8 and 8:30. On Investigation Discovery, Murder in the Heartland at 9 and Death of a Cheerleader at 10.
Hell yeah.
On the History Channel, The Curse of Oak Island, Drilling Down at 9, and Great Escapes with Morgan Freeman at 10.
I have not had a chance to watch Letterkenny yet, so I'm hoping to spend my evening with the boys.
Have you guys got any new shows in recently? I just finished one of them.
Trying to think of what. Nothing new really.
I've been watching Yellowstone 1883. I just finished True Story.
I watched The Harder They Fall. That was a good one.
What is that?
It's like a Western, but like Lakeith Stanfield's in it. Idris Elba's in it.
All right.
Who else?
I saw
Jonathan Majors.
You know what I just finally watched?
Beats. It's a really good one.
I saw preview. I thought that was a movie though.
It's a movie. It's on Netflix. Yeah, it's really good though. I watched that and I watched Frayed on HBO Max. And so Frayed's set in the 1980s. It's set in like 88 or something. And so it follows it's this comedian Sarah Kendall who actually does the show.
Okay.
She's Australian, so they she takes like her family from Australia from London to Australia.
Huh.
So, I mean, it's a really interesting show. It's funny. It's a comedy. It's kind of a dark comedy, though.
I finally watched Judas and the Black Messiah over the break. It's really good. It's just I honest to God didn't know the story. Like I didn't know the story at all, and I was like, man, this is effed up. I didn't know.
Yeah, it was interesting to me because I'm like, man, I'm surprised no one ever made a movie about this.
Right? Like it's crazy.
Or like I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Move bomb in 1985.
I'm familiar. Yes.
That's another one I'm kind of surprised that they haven't made something about because that was recent.
Nuts.
That was like, 9 years before I was born. That's insane.
I finally saw Spider-Man on Sunday night. It took me 10 days to see Spider-Man. Finally saw it on Sunday night. Oh, of course I loved it. It's phenomenal. You know what I mean?
It won't hold a candle to whenever the X-Men come to the MCU. So.
Well, I mean, I'm very excited about the first of the 2 post-credit scenes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very excited about.
Yes.
I wish. You know what I got to be honest about? I like Doctor Strange, and like. I'm cool. I do not care about Doctor Strange the way the Marvel Universe wants me to care about Doctor Strange.
Well,
like
he's
they want Doctor Strange,
device,
but that's essentially what I think he is. I think he is this. They want him to be the central focus.
Yeah, he's like the new Iron Man.
Essentially, right? And I'm not okay with that because you have not made me care about him. The reason why we liked Iron Man is because we liked the human side of Tony Stark. Right? Like, that was what they did so well. Doctor Strange, it's too much magic for me and not enough human there.
Well, I liked all of the, to be fair, I liked a lot of the MCU stuff, but, Daredevil, of course, was like one of my favorite ones. Yeah. But Loki, I loved Loki. And that was very magical.
I'm telling you, the sci-fi is my least favorite part of all superheroes. I'm not a sci-fi guy. I'm just not a sci-fi guy. So whenever we go,
I'm not really into like magic stuff. Like I don't like all the usually.
Yeah.
However, I will say I do like Doctor Strange. I don't like him as much as I like the Iron Man. Of course,
it's nothing.
It's not the same. You're going from one Sherlock Holmes to another Sherlock Holmes, but this Sherlock Holmes is a totally
Correct.
different Sherlock.
I want less sci-fi in my superhero movies. That's why I've like this. What I think that Marvel did so well is they made them more approachable for those of us that aren't sci-fi fans. That's what I thought they did so well, and so I want less sci-fi. Kyle Andrews. Oh, hang on. Tubular was also brought to you today by Live Casino and Hotel. Always a great place to hang out, watch, and bet on the game. Sports fans, the wait is over. You can get to the FanDuel Sportsbook in Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks to watch all the action from the best seat in the house. Sir, what can I plug for you?
So you can follow me on Twitter at KyleJAndrews_. You can also go to Center Daily on centerdaily.com. That's Center Daily Times. That's who I write for. I cover Penn State.
And it's the French
football.
spelling of center,
Yes.
correct? Yeah.
I thought it was yeah.
CNTRE. Yeah.
And then, so another person, I'll also plug him because he's a main Penn State beat reporter, but John Sauber, that's JONSAUBER. That's, my buddy that covers Penn State up there for Center Daily Times. He's a beat reporter, so if you want to follow his stuff, follow him as well. We do a podcast together. It's called The Lion's Lair. We don't have a Twitter for that, but you could just look it up online. Go on centerdaily.com.
Cool.
And it'll be on there.
Very
So,
cool, man.
yeah.
Love you. It's great to see you. Glad you came in and hung out with us this week. Happy New Year, my friend, and you continue to make us proud. All right?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks also today to Dan Wilcox as well as to Patrick Stevens. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the
Archives
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the show, speaking of friends, Jake Luke is going to come in and hang out with us in the Baltimore Beatdown and Baltimore Beatdown podcast. He's going to sit in on tomorrow's show. We're hoping to catch up with Sam Acho. He's doing the Pinstripe Bowl for ESPN. Of course, that's tomorrow afternoon. Maryland playing Virginia Tech, and Stuff and Things, as always, coming up on the program tomorrow. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, Window Nation, ExxonMobil, Toyota, let me get the list right, CCBC, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, K&S Automotive, the Maryland Lottery, Grade 8's Memorabilia, Live Casino and Hotel, Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, the Maryland Department of Transportation, Underdog Fantasy Football, Duffy's Garage in Baldwin, Window Depot, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com, and MyBookie. And by the way, John, I love the Hawkeye series. It's been great. Yes, it's been tremendous. It's been excellent. All of those series, honestly, have been excellent. All four of them they've done on Disney Plus.
Also, we stand Kate Bishop around here. So
which one is Kate Bishop?
She's Hawkeye's protege.
Is that
Haley Steinfeld?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, wait, but that's the character name
Yes.
is Kate Bishop. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I know that's not. And then the other girl is Florence Pugh.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah, big fan. Big fan.
Did we do Ty Spouser?
No,
show?
I'll tell you about that. Not for on air. All right. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Paul. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Valley III. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great